5 o'clock, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We're at 65 degrees with cloudy skies right now. We are expecting some thunderstorms later on today. However, Stefano DiPietro tells us these are going to be your garden variety thunderstorms, and he's got more on it right after the news. The National Transportation Safety Board is on the ground in Tullahoma today after a skydiving plane crashed yesterday shortly after taking off at Tullahoma Regional Airport.
20 people were on board when officials say the twin turboprop crashed just 1,000 feet from the end of the runway. At least 7 passengers were injured. 3 of them were transferred to the hospital via helicopter. Incredibly, nobody was killed in the crash and nobody on the ground was hurt.
ABC's Rhiannon Alley there. The FAA will also investigate that crash. A Trousdale County prison erupted in a riot overnight, and Fox 17 is reporting that the prisoners initially refused to go back into their cells around 10 o'clock last night, and then they overtook prison guards, holding at least 2 of them hostage. Many state troopers and police officers arrived on the scene to assist, and the guards were freed. Now, Trousdale Sheriff Ray Russell says no one has left the prison yard and no one escaped. However, a head count is underway. Ed the zebra back in the care of his handlers after he was finally captured yesterday morning, thanks in large part to Corey Ortiz, who tells Channel 4 that he captured images of that zebra on a trail camera.
I brought the camera back to my house and downloaded all the photos. And when I went back to put the camera, me and the zebra ran into each other, and we actually scared each other, and he ran off into the woods. And that's when I called the sheriff's department immediately.
Now, a team from Texas called Tango 82 located the zebra in a pasture near the Buchanan Estate subdivision, just near Interstate 24. They were able to airlift Ed to an animal shelter, and they say he is 100% fine. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent and other administration officials travel to London to resume trade talks with China. The president posting on his Truth social media account that he expects these talks to go, quote, very well as the trade tensions remain over reciprocal tariffs. Artificial intelligence is at the center of Amazon's investments after the company announced plans to spend $10 billion to expand operations in North Carolina. It would bring 500 jobs to what state leaders call one of the largest investments in North Carolina history. Looking ahead this week, all eyes will be on Wednesday's Consumer Price Index, which could give analysts some insight into the impact of those tariffs imposed by the Trump administration earlier this year. This will also provide one of the last big data pieces before the Federal Reserve's June meeting that will decide if interest rates will be cut or hold steady through the summer. Brian Clark, ABC News.
Now, after that big rally on Friday, the Dow futures right now are plus 28 points. The NASDAQ futures are down 7, and the S&P futures, they're plus 4. That's the latest news. We've got your traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Well, looking at the map so far this morning, things look really good. There's no problem to speak of on 24 heading into Nashville. 40 looks a little bit slow as you're inbound this morning in some spots, but really no big delays. We've got 65 running well as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.506 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. As far as your weather for today, scattered thunderstorms, a high around 82. Welcome on in to Monday, June 9th. I can't believe that the media, Joan, is doing this again.
It's crazy, isn't it?
Joan, don't you know that when you have a bunch of law enforcement officials and they are trapped underneath a freeway overpass and all kinds of things are being thrown at them like rocks and bricks and concrete, those are peaceful protests, Joan.
And there's fires erupting. I mean, honestly, it's
fires are erupting. Yeah. You've got all of these vehicles in Los Angeles.
Did you see all the Waymo vehicles that they set on fire?
Yes.
They were all Waymos.
Do you know how much those are worth?
I know.
I mean, I don't know what company,
operates them
there in Los Angeles, but oh my Lord. And you got officers that are being spit upon in Los Angeles as well, which leads me to one of my favorite quotes of the day from Donald Trump, and I'll play it here in a minute, but the quote is, they spit, we hit. Oof. I like that from the President Donald Trump. So, I mean, all kinds of things are going on in Los Angeles. There is a lot to report to you. It's only Monday. It is only 5:08, but also coming up in the next few minutes, my favorite moment from this weekend, courtesy of Maxine Waters.
Oh, I know which one it is.
Do you know which one I'm talking about, Joan?
Yeah, when the door gets slammed on her.
Okay, don't
okay,
don't give it up. No
away.
Spoilers here, Joan. But first, this is, the media again, doing it again, talking about, and Democrats talking about peaceful protests.
I just want to just state for the record that what did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot.
The reality is we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion.
There is some unrest generally dealt with by local law enforcement. And
we are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting.
Now, what I don't understand, all right, so I want to make sure that I have the logic, right? So the president sending in the National Guard, and by the way, there's also 500 Marines on standby from what I understand, but the president sending in the National Guard. So this is what has triggered the people on the left. The president sending in the National Guard when you have all of the violence that we've talked about. I mean, again, cars on fire. They shut down the 101 freeway in Los Angeles. And you have these police officers under attack. And so for the president sending in the National Guard, that just makes sense. Now, you have the people on the left saying, oh, well, Donald Trump sending in the National Guard. He is inflaming the situation. No, he's not. He's trying to stop the situation. I mean, good Lord. So there is just a lot. We've got Tom Homan, who is out there calling Gavin Newsom an embarrassment. Gavin Newsom is daring Tom Homan to arrest him. So that is also part of the conversation for this morning. But if you, like me, it was impossible to not watch the violence and the chaos that is happening right now in Southern California. By the way, today, Joan, keep an eye out for this. Today word on the streets of Los Angeles is that they're going to shut down the airport.
Oh.
They're going to try to shut down LAX. Now, how you do that, I don't know. And by the way, I was there in 1992. Believe it or not, I was there in Los Angeles in 1992. You folks know that I'm from LA. And I'm seeing a lot of similarities.
Oh, really?
Between what? Well, yeah. You've got the police being attacked. Now,
this seems especially violent, though. Was it that violent in 1992?
So oh, yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, there is a lot of violence in 1992. But one of the things that I am not seeing thus far is burning buildings. Now, I don't know if you've seen burning buildings, Joan. Now, I have seen a lot of looting. That I've seen. And you got these guys. You know what? And I've talked about this so many times. Oh, hey, honey, we need a new TV. So, if I'm in LA, we need a new TV. So let's wait for the next riot and go ahead and just get one from Best Buy. I mean, that's what they do. Somebody please tell me, how does the arresting of illegal alien criminals in Los Angeles, how does that impact your need for a new TV? It doesn't. But they'll use that as an excuse to go in and steal a bunch of stuff. They'll go into liquor stores and they'll break into the liquor stores and they'll steal, for example, a bunch of, obviously, liquor and also cigarettes. And so this is what's going on in Los Angeles. I'm noticing a lot of similarities. So Dana Bash, of course, she's out there saying, oh, well, this isn't like 1992. There's, at least to me, there is a lot of similarities. And by the way, this situation in Los Angeles, it's getting worse, not better. So we have this situation in LA, and this all really started, I guess, on Friday afternoon, right? So you had ICE. They were going in and they started arresting some folks. And at one point, from what I understand, there were ICE agents actually, they were locked in a building and the protests were happening outside. And so they had to go in and rescue the ICE agents who were trapped in this building. And so, but of course, again, the left will call these as peaceful protests.
A lot of graffiti, a lot of bad words up there. People clearly very upset.
Yeah, there is all weekend long. That was on Fox News. Christina Coleman, she was live on Fox News. The graffiti ranged from F ICE, of course, they use the actual word, F ICE to death to Trump and the rest of that nonsense. Some of these protesters, they were even dressed in Hamas keffiyehs. I don't know if you saw that, but so now what is happening is you have some of these folks that are dressing up in these keffiyehs. They're also wearing masks, of course. So I want to make sure I got this straight. It is okay for the air quoting here, the peaceful protesters to wear not only keffiyehs but also masks to hide their identity. But it's not okay for ICE officers to wear masks. I just want to make sure that everyone understands and notices the hypocrisy there. The violence is getting worse. Self-driving cars, we were talking about this earlier, erupting in flames. Rioters are chaining themselves to furniture. They are creating blockades to grind downtown LA to a halt. So much more. Trump has now sent in 2,000 National Guard troops, 500 Marines on standby. I think he's got to send in the Marines. I do. I think that just makes all the sense in the world. A lot of this is the usual stuff, by the way. Again, shutting down roadways, burning cars, standoff against ICE and law enforcement. Oh, and Mexican flags. A lot of Mexican flags.
And in addition to setting all those fires, rioters were also throwing boulders and rocks at law enforcement. And then on Friday, right here at the federal building, over 1,000 rioters surrounded it and attacked it. Violent protesters tried to stop ICE agents from carrying out their operations, arresting those with final orders of removal by an immigration judge that had not complied with that order.
ICE agents went to apparently Home Depot, courthouses, and other places around town. Now, we saw these folks, protesters. Am I wrong on this, Joan? Because I actually, for a brief moment, had a moment, I wouldn't even call it a moment. I would call it like a nanosecond of self-reflection on one thing as I was watching all of these peaceful protests play out in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
I'm going to talk about that coming up next. It is 5:15. Time to check the roads on WTN.
Looking really good so far this morning. They are doing work out at the airport this morning, and we're talking about tonight. Things are going to get really dicey around the airport area because tonight around 7 o'clock, they're going to be shifting some of the traffic into a new interchange. They're expecting it all to wrap up by 4 o'clock on Tuesday morning. So just be advised that if you're planning to travel out at the airport tonight, things are going to be different, and it's going to likely bring a lot of delays. But so far on 40 this morning, things look really good. Same thing for 24 and for 65. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Scattered thunderstorms today, a high around 82, and right now the temp. Did you say 69? Is that what you said, Louie?
Louie.
65 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I was so concerned, Louie, during the your traffic report. Louie gives me the temperatures, and he sounded so cool when he said 60. This is his quote, Joan.
Yeah,
65 degrees current is what Louie said. Now, if there's anybody in this building that can make me feel uncool, it was Johnny
Louie.
B. and now Louie.
Yeah.
Thank you, Louie. And appreciate you being here this morning. All right. So let's do one of my favorite moments where none others, and we're talking about the riots in L.A. So the infamous Congresswoman Maxine Waters, she tried to enter an ICE facility. By the way, a lot of this stuff you can see on my X feed. Maxine Waters tries to enter an ICE facility, and this is what it sounded like.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public affairs.
I need to get in.
I love that. The door slamming in the face of Maxine Waters. And I knew I'd have fun with that this morning.
Yeah.
And she's all just, she can't believe
that somebody would just close the door in her face.
that this big, bearded, burly, ICE agent slammed the door in her corrupt face.
She was, she said that she was trying to check on a union leader.
Yeah, there was SEIU, union leader, I forget his name, but he was out there doing the protesting and all that kind of stuff. And he apparently, and I don't know the details, it's really not part of my coverage today, but apparently he was out there, doing what union people do in Los Angeles. And I guess he got hurt.
Yeah.
And he got arrested. And you know what? What is it? FAFO?
Right.
To the SEIU union leader. There you go. Thank you. Oh, my period of self-reflection. All right, so is it just me, Joan, where I'm watching all of this unfold and I'm seeing, some of these peaceful protesters.
Yeah.
Getting pepper sprayed. And they immediately crumple to the ground and get in the fetal position and start crying for mommy.
Yeah.
And I just start laughing. You know what I want? I want them to take a helicopter, like the one that was flying Ed the zebra around.
Right.
And I want them to take one of those helicopters and literally drop the pepper spray on all of these people that are lighting cars on fire and attacking and spitting at police officers and law enforcement officers and ICE agents and so forth. I just want the pepper spray to, be dropped from a helicopter. And I understand that actually probably wouldn't work, but whatever. You know what I'm saying, though?
Did you happen to see the one that I got the most, I don't know, probably the biggest giggle out of?
Which one?
Was the guy who was throwing things at police, and I think they may have shot a rubber bullet, in his private parts.
No.
And talk about crumple. Oh.
Well, I would crumple too.
Yeah, he was doing the dance.
Did they?
Yeah.
Did they aim for that?
Who knows?
Do you have a video of that?
I have no idea.
Okay, I'm going to see if I can find the video on that because that's epic.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It was really good. He was doing the dance and you could see he was lifting his legs up and he was really trying to get out of the way, but he was hurting. He was hurting for certain.
If I as a man who has been kicked in that area before accidentally, she said, No, it was an accident. I was on the soccer field, believe it or not, when I was a kid. But if it was a real, true pellet to the groin, you're not dancing.
Right.
You are on the ground and you are in the fetal position crying. I mean, I'm telling you that if that was a true direct hit,
Yeah.
and KGB and Louie, we can all agree with this. If it's a true direct hit on the groin, if you know what I'm talking about, you don't have the ability to dance. You are on the ground and you are in the fetal position crying, right? All right, I got.
You got a nod.
I think they're still asleep. Why is it nobody else is as excited as me and Joan to get on the air this morning? Anyway, there was another video where this was in Memphis, and I tweeted this out. I posted this to my X feed, where there's a dude doing the same stupidity in Memphis, and he's in front of one of these ICE vehicles. Big burly ICE agent or a law enforcement agent. He gets out of the truck. He walks up to this guy. He literally, Joan, find this on my X feed. I just scroll down. He literally throws this dude like 5 feet. And he just goes, rolling. He gets thrown 5 feet. He just goes rolling along. I mean, I loved it.
That is
FAFO.
awesome. Yeah. Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
Fool around and find out.
Oh, I guess I could. Yeah, fool around and see. Here's, my problem is. My problem is that I'll accidentally say.
Yeah,
the
yeah.
thing, so I
No,
should
you can just stick with the
FAFO.
letters.
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's right. Anyway, so the sound effect of the day is that one. Door into the face of one Maxine Waters. All right, so there is a lot to talk about. And by the way, coming up at 6:38, we are going to speak to Jonathan Fahey about all of this. You know, that he was part of ICE in Donald Trump's first administration. So we're going to talk to him. 7:35, really looking forward to this, Joan. John Rich is going to be joining us. And I don't know if you've been watching what is going on with the Tennessee Valley Authority, the TVA, and what they want to do up there in Cheatham County, where John Rich says the TVA is basically absconding with people's property, and they're going to put a big old methane plant right there on, it would appear, the property of these long-time Cheatham County residents. And it is, I mean, it's a horrible story, including one woman who I think, if I remember right, she's like 90 years old. Yeah. 90 years old, and she has a little bit of dementia. And TVA agents, with a bunch of cars and stuff, they just, according to the story, as the story goes, they show up on her property and they just start looking around. And you know what they, and John will be able to tell the story much more accurately than me. But one of the things that they did was they said, well, yeah, your husband has given us approval to look at this property and build or take over some of this property so that we could put this methane plant up here in Cheatham County. Her husband's been dead for years.
And they came to her house with
no
guns.
Notice. Yeah, guns, no notice.
No notice.
And they just
guns, body armor, and said, hey, we're going on your property. What's she going to do? She's 90 and tiny.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
So I love that John Rich is taking up the fight for these people in Cheatham County. We'll talk to him at 7:35. It is 5:24. Joan Jones is there in the WTN newsroom. Joan, what's coming up?
Yeah, a riot erupts at a Tennessee prison. We'll tell you why police are on the scene there still this morning. And we'll have the latest from Los Angeles, where rioting hit the streets over President Trump's deportation efforts. Those stories and more here at 5:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
529, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 89.7 WTN. By the way, would love to hear from you this morning. The Super Text line is open at 615-737-9986, 615-737-WWTN. Also, watch us on YouTube. You can also watch us on X, Facebook, 997WTN.com as well. And you can listen to us on the WTN app, iHeartRadio app, and so many more places. Just check out where you can listen to us, where you can watch them. All the details at 997WTN.com.
Good morning, 5:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There is still a huge police presence at the Trousdale Correctional Facility this morning, where a riot broke out last night among the prisoners. Here's how it sounded on Broadcastify as prison officials communicated last night.
Inmates are contained. There's probably an estimate of 200 that are out and trying to take over.
Yeah, of the 2,700 inmates there, about 200 were involved in this riot. At one point, they took 2 prison guards hostage and demanded the gates be opened, but the guards have since been let go. All the prisoners are said to be back in their cells this morning, but a head count continues to be sure that no one has escaped, and there are tons of police on the scene this morning. Metro Nashville police now know that they are looking for a certain man after a hit and run last month. 32-year-old Tony Lopez Infante of Venezuela ran over a man at a crosswalk on May 18th with a rented car. He's in the country illegally, entering the country during the Biden administration in 2023. Infante has 6 outstanding warrants and a final order of removal. Now, he was last seen in Mount Juliet. The man that he allegedly hit, Zach Karach of Florida, had been visiting Nashville with his family to celebrate his 21st birthday. He has been in the hospital with serious injuries ever since that crash. L.A. police officials are working to clear downtown after declaring it an unlawful assembly area. And ABC's Amy Powell is on the scene this morning.
We're standing here on Broadway overlooking the 101 freeway, and in the last few minutes we've heard numerous explosions. There are a lot of people in the street here, and we've seen people setting off explosive devices, fireworks running through the street. You can hear all the sirens. There are several LAPD vehicles down there. We have some coming by right now, and there goes some of those explosives and fireworks we were talking about.
And at least 56 people were arrested. About 300 National Guard troops are on the ground. And we're hearing that Gavin Newsom, the governor there, will sue President Trump over his National Guard order. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. No trouble this morning as you're traveling on 24, heading in. Just a touch of the brakes as you merge there with 40. Things look good on 65 this morning. 40 also looks good heading into Nashville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.537 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on in along with Joan Jones. Dan Mandis here. Joan, I want you to, by the way, one of my other favorite stories is coming up. And I think that there's a lesson to be learned when it comes to late night drunken posts on X.
Yes.
So we're going to talk about that coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. But Joan, can you name this very well-known news person?
Hip hop, you don't stop and rock it to the bang bang boogie. So up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat.
Well, whoever it is.
You know who that is?
Is meant to be a news person and not a rapper. Who?
It's Brett Baer from Fox News.
What?
He is up there and he's dressed very fly. Is that a thing? Dressed whatever.
Brett,
anyway.
what?
Yeah, he's.
Where is he? Why is he doing this?
So unique. Come on, everybody. Dance you beat.
I think that's come on, everybody. I think is that called Rapper's Delight? I think that's.
Yeah,
called
I think it is. Yeah.
Anyway, so he is up there and he is up on stage. I don't exactly, to be perfectly honest, I think it's some sort of an event.
Okay. Well, obviously, yeah. Maybe it's like a fundraiser and he's
something. He's
letting loose a little.
Now, here's the funny thing. Like,
how does he know all those words? Like,
well, I guess he's done this before.
Yeah.
Brett Baer. And he's doing the whole hand thing too, you know, when you rap.
Right.
Like he's spinning a record or something like that. So I think it's funnier than all get out. I think it's great. I mean, and people are making fun of him because
he let loose.
One Joan Jones said he should stick to newscasting. Well, he's great at what he does. So, you know, I would agree he needs to stick to newscasting.
But listen to how much fun.
Yes. I mean, do you know how much courage that takes?
Yes.
To be able to you know, get up on stage in front of a whole bunch of folks
and let loose,
knowing that you are going to be made fun of, knowing that you are going to be mocked, but he goes up there and he does it anyway.
Yeah.
So I'll go ahead and I tweeted, I posted this to my X feed over the weekend, but let me go ahead and do it again. I'm reposting that right now. If you want to check it out. Brett Baer from Fox News. Yeah, people, you know, it's funny. So here's what's funny. So I, of course, who couldn't tell you the difference between, name the rappers, right? I couldn't tell you the difference between them. I thought, well, gosh, Brett Baer sounds pretty good. And then, of course, everybody is like, you know, completely bashing him because he But, he knows the lyrics.
He knows the lyrics, and he's doing it without, he's not holding back one iota.
No.
He's going there.
I actually absolutely love it. All right, so let's now talk about ABC's Terry Moran. Now, if you folks remember, Terry Moran, that belligerent reporter from ABC, he interviewed Trump a few weeks ago. And maybe it's been a couple of months now, whatever. But
it was for the 100 days.
It was for the 100 days.
Yeah.
And sorry. Shut up, Brett. We're done with you. Hold on. Let me. I got it. There it is. All right. There we go. All right. So this is, it was a very testy interview. And Donald Trump and Terry Moran, they were going back and forth. Remember this from ABC. It didn't go well. Here's what it sounded like.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him?
I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview.
I am
And
happy.
then you start hitting me with fake questions. But you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news.
All right. Thank you.
And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
Thank you.
Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry. But you're not being very nice.
I mean, that's how the interview went. And a lot of folks noticed, of course, obviously, clearly, that it did not go well. And so now you have Terry Moran, and he apparently early Sunday, late Saturday night, early Sunday, the only thing I can think of is that he was on a bender when he posted this. The thing about Stephen Miller, now you folks know Stephen Miller is from a policy advisor, Trump administration. He said the only thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trump movement and translates them into policy. But that's not what's interesting about Miller, Moran wrote. It's not brains, it's bile. Stephen Miller, he writes, is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He is a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats his hate.
Oh, my gosh.
I mean, dude.
Talk about hate.
Exactly. So by the time Miller responded, Stephen Miller responds to the post, it had been deleted from X. The message continued to circulate, though, as you can imagine, via screenshots of the post. The most important fact about Terry's full public meltdown is what it shows about the corporate press in America. Miller responded on X. For decades, the privileged anchors and reporters narrating and gatekeeping our society have been radicals adopting a journalist pose. Terry pulled off his mask. Stephen Miller is absolutely right.
Yeah,
I mean,
for sure.
We all know exactly what has been going on with the media, and certainly Terry Moran is part of that. And we could tell during the interview with Donald Trump. Caroline Leavitt, by the way, White House press secretary, jumped into the fray. And here's what she had to say.
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist.
See, that's the whole point, Joan.
Yes.
Is that he's supposed to be a unbiased and professional journalist, and clearly he's not. I mean,
so after that part that you read, after he said he eats his hate, speaking of Stephen Miller, he said Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred is only a means to an end. And this is where the writing got a little funny, so you can tell that maybe he was drunk. But his hatred only a means to an end, and that end his own glorification. So what he meant to say is, but his hatred is only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That is his spiritual nourishment. So he went after both of them, Stephen Miller and President Trump. I mean, And this guy is supposed to be your, like, right down the middle, unbiased news reporter.
This is all opinion.
It's
and
baloney.
it's a hateful screed. And it's also weird. Like, it's just bizarre.
Yeah.
When he says, like, that Stephen Miller and Trump, he eats his hate.
He eats his hate.
What does that even mean?
I don't know.
That just, like...
But what does ABC do from here? I mean...
Well, they suspended him.
Oh,
right?
they did? I did not know that.
Yeah, they suspended him. Terry Moran. They suspended him, and as they should. Fact check me on that, Joe.
He did.
Okay, good. I wanted to make sure I was not wrong on that.
So I sent it to you last night, and I didn't even see this part of it. He was suspended Sunday.
Can you imagine? Can you imagine him waking up and realizing, oh my God, what have I done?
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know. And with the bizarre things that he posted, it just seems to me like he had been drinking, and the true Terry Moran unmasked himself, exposed himself. Meantime, by the way, I don't know if you saw this on Friday, Joan. The Associated Press has lost their lawsuit against the Trump administration for now. A federal appeals court ruling that allows the White House for now to restrict the Associated Press from the Oval Office and other limited spaces when reporting on the commander-in-chief. Because the Associated Press and some of these other media outlets, they're so horrified that Trump is like, you know what? We're going to give new media a shot because they are a lot fairer than some of these folks in the mainstream media.
And if you remember, this began when the Associated Press refused to refer to the Gulf of America as the Gulf of America.
Yeah. No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
They said, oh, no, it's going to be the Gulf of Mexico.
Yep. They refused to change their tune on that. So President Trump said, hey.
Didn't Google Maps eventually go ahead and refer to it as Gulf of America? I think they did, but I could be wrong.
I'm going to look right now, but they said they were going to.
Donald Trump, big win over AP today. He wrote this on Truth Social on Friday. They refused to state the facts or the truth on the Gulf of America. Fake news, Associated Press. This is what Caroline Levitt had to say.
And we also just won a major victory over the Associated Press, who thought that they had a constitutional right to walk into the Oval Office or to fly on Air Force One, and a judge said no. In fact, those are privileged spaces that belong to the President of the United States. And this is a great ruling for democracy. We fought them in court, and we won. And so we will continue to keep or hold journalists accountable. All we're asking for is truth and transparency.
So we'll see where this whole thing goes.
Yeah, by the way, Google does show the Gulf of America as the Gulf of America.
Yeah, Google. There you go, Google. Very nice. By the way, I don't know if you've noticed, Joan, but there is. Can you feel it? Do you know what I'm talking? Can you feel it?
The sea change. Oh yeah.
There is a sadness over the state of Tennessee and America. Because Ed the zebra has been caught.
Yeah. He wasn't just caught.
He was flown in a bag via helicopter. I mean, I saw this and I thought, because people were like, oh, Ed must be so scared running around the wilds. It's like, how do you think he felt when he was being, carried by a helicopter? Basically, if you haven't seen the video, find it on my X feed at Dan Manda Show. But the helicopter is flying through the air, and then you've got like this long rope or cable and hanging like, I don't know, looks like at least 20 feet underneath the helicopter. And there's poor Ed in like a bag or something. And you can see his head and everything.
Yeah.
And he's just like, what the hell's going on, man? I mean, how do you think? I mean, I'm trying to think of how Ed feels, Ed the zebra, how he was feeling. Because, I mean, he has no concept of what flying actually is, does he?
No,
he's a
he
zebra.
doesn't. And from what I read, and there have been so many reports about it, they didn't tranquilize him. They didn't help him out, like, with this experience at all. They just strung him up and took him away. But I don't even see how they could have done that, because they talked about how strong they are and that they're dangerous. So I'm pretty sure he didn't just say, okay, strap me in.
Right. That's
They had
exactly
to do something.
Right. Well, yeah. And how did they? I want to know, how did they catch him? Do we know?
So that I had a little bit of audio from the guy. So there's a guy that had a camera, a trail cam, out on this area, and when he took it in, he realized that the zebra was there as he was going through the photo. So he called the sheriff's office. The sheriff's office called a group called Tango 82 out of Tennessee. Out of Texas, that apparently does this kind of stuff. Like, this is their thing. And they brought a helicopter in. They were able to use radar. I think it's radar to see where he is. And when he got out into an open field, they dropped a net on him to stop him.
Wow. That's sad.
Yeah, it is sad.
Poor Ed.
It is. I mean, it's sad, but I'm glad it didn't end with Ed being struck by somebody on the highway. He
or
was
being
very
eaten
close.
by a bunch of coyotes.
Yeah. Well, I don't think
So-
coyotes would have a chance against him. He's pretty big. I think.
Don't coyotes hunt in packs? I have no idea.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Clueless.
It's a coyote. It's the wolves that are like lone wolves. But I don't even know.
They could. Yes, I think they do, because when you
Yeah.
hear them, they're
I'm just
usually
saying,
in
coyotes
packs.
are fast.
Yeah.
And especially when they're hungry. I mean,
yeah.
You should see me walking into Outback. Anyway, whatever. All right. Very good. Super Talk 99.7 WTN. I think that's all I have, other than the fact that let's see. Somebody's asking if I meant for my shirt, my hat and my shirt to match.
I
don't
noticed
know.
that this morning too.
Did you
They're
actually
very
notice?
Well done. Yeah.
Can I ask a question, Joe?
Yeah.
Do you like, because this is I think the second or third time you've commented on my attire.
I notice every morning what you wear.
Do you notice? Do you really?
Yeah, sure.
Joan actually noticed. I was very surprised by this. But Joan actually noticed one day when I inadvertently kind of sort of wore slippers to work. Do you remember that, Joan?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
Now,
I thought it was an interesting choice, but nobody looks at your feet when you're on the air.
That's what I said.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I come in and nobody, pays attention to me. And so then, Joan pointed out that I was indeed wearing slippers. But in my defense, I was running late that day, and I couldn't find any socks. So it just made sense to me to throw on the slippers. And listen, those slippers covered more toe than Birkenstocks.
Yeah. Well,
So in my defense.
do you get pedicures?
It is 5:53 on Nashville's Morning News
I think
on
that's
Super
a
Talk
no.
99.7 WTN. Do I get pedicures?
Yeah.
I do. I do it with my wife.
You do?
Yeah.
Do they polish your nails?
No, they don't polish my nails.
Question, like they
Can I
just
just say
clean your
that when-
feet and give you a little massage and
They do.
Yeah.
Yeah, because listen, when like my heel gets nobody wants to hear this. When my heel gets really crusty.
yeah.
And so Amy started calling me like Krusty the Clown. So then I just decided, okay, it's time for me to, she said, just come with me to get a pedicure. Please, pretty please. And listen, when my pretty wife wants me to go get a pedicure with her, then
You just do what she says.
I'm a yes man when it comes to those kinds of things. I'm not saying that I enjoy the pedicures,
Oh, I'm sure.
but
yeah.
I do it because I really want this marriage to actually work. Anyway, moving right along, it is 5:54. And Joan Jones has the news coming up. Hey, Joan.
Yeah, we'll tell you what the Tullahoma city manager has to say about that plane that crashed on Sunday. And we'll have more this morning from outside of the LA, where things really got bad overnight. We've got all those details coming up here on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
5:59, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, coming up in the 6 o'clock hour, we've got Jonathan Fahey. Of course, you know, he used to work within ICE in the Trump administration's first 4 years. So we're going to talk to him at 6:38. The war of words between Tom Homan and Gavin Newsom. Also, you've got to hear this. It's all straight ahead on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning, 6 o'clock now, and I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. 6 people were taken to the hospital, 3 by helicopter, after a skydiving plane crashed near the end of a runway at the Tullahoma Municipal Airport Sunday afternoon. Jason Quick is Tullahoma's city manager.
The plane experienced an unknown issue that resulted in the impact with both the trees and terrain. We practice for these types of events all the time with our local officials, our county officials, and with our state officials, hoping that we never have to put what we have practiced into action.
Now, of the 20 people on board that plane, 2 people were immediately taken to hospitals via helicopter, and 4 were sent by ambulance for serious injuries. One of the 4 people originally transported by ambulance was then later flown to a Nashville hospital by helicopter. At the Trousdale Correctional Facility, a huge police presence continues this morning after a riot that began last night. News 2's Megan Fee is on the scene still this morning.
Now, the Trousdale County Sheriff's Office tells us that the inmates took over a control room and released about 100 other prisoners out into the yard. Deputies responding to this around 10 o'clock last night as multiple other agencies arrived to help set up that perimeter. THP tells us they deployed about 75 state troopers who the sheriff says used tear gas into the yard and pushed those inmates back into their cell blocks.
And the prison guards were let go. Right now, a head count is underway to make sure that no one escaped. It was an all-night battle between police and protesters in Los Angeles after violence erupted over the weekend in the wake of federal immigration raids.
It has gone on all night, even at 2 o'clock in the morning. LAPD officers were reporting in that they were having rocks thrown at them and fireworks shot at them. There was some looting that went on overnight. While arrests were made, in many cases, all police could do was just keep pushing the crowd around downtown. People using everything from dumpsters to park benches as barricades as they battled the police, throwing concrete and fireworks at them.
That's ABC's Alex Stone reporting. And a DoorDash driver is lucky to have escaped big trouble after driving his car onto the tarmac at Chicago O'Hare Airport. Surveillance video shows that driver navigating near parked planes before airport personnel showed up. The Hill said that the driver had to drive a significant distance across the airfield before stopping. He didn't get a ticket, though, because police said that there was a food order and a DoorDash receipt in the car, so his story checked out. But an airport employee was fired for not notifying her supervisor after seeing the car drive through her post. Market numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management. Online at beaconcm.com. We've got stock futures flat this morning. Dow futures up 5, NASDAQ futures down 14, S&P futures are plus 1. That's the latest news. Traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Okay, in South Side on 40 westbound before Elm Hill Pike overpass. You find an accident there. The right lane partially blocked off. This is a tanker truck and a car involved in this accident. Also, Donaldson, Lebanon Pike at McGavock Pike. There is an accident reported there as well. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.606 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. By the way, watch us on YouTube. Like and subscribe to the channel if you would. And the daily poll question is this for your Monday, June 9th. Do you agree with Kilmar Abrego Garcia being brought back to Tennessee for trial? This happened on Friday. Huge story, because this is one where I think that folks on the left, I don't think they believed that Donald Trump would acquiesce and actually bring this dude back from El Salvador. But he did. But in doing so, what he has also done is leveling the Attorney General, Pam Bondi. They are leveling all kinds of charges against Kilmar Abrego Garcia. So there is that part of the illegal immigration story. From a local perspective, this is a very big deal. This all came out on Friday. This all came down on Friday during the Murphy show. And for me, I think that there's two things at play here. Number one is you have Kilmar Abrego Garcia. Of course, everybody knows the story about how he was caught trying to traffic some of these folks through the state of Tennessee. And it was the Biden administration. When they got pulled over, you had Kilmar Abrego Garcia and like 8 illegals, 8 people in the vehicle. Nobody speaks English. Nobody's got any luggage, right? Clearly, what Abrego Garcia was doing was trafficking these illegal aliens through the state of Tennessee. And apparently they were going, if I remember right, they were going from Texas through Tennessee to Maryland. And they called the Biden DOJ, and Biden's FBI apparently said, nah, don't worry about it. Just let him go. Unbelievable. And so then, of course, this guy ultimately ends up getting picked up. We all know the story from there. The media tries to call him a Maryland man, when in reality, this is a guy who, as it turned out, we found out over the couple months that he is someone who is a wife beater. And he is somebody who clearly, at least to me, it seems like he is a trafficker of illegal aliens. And now he has come back to the state of Tennessee to face charges. I need some audio, gentlemen, if I could. So this was Pam Bondi, the Attorney General, current Attorney General, as she is making the announcement.
Abrego Garcia has landed in the United States to face justice. On May 21st, a grand jury in the Middle District of Tennessee returned a sealed indictment charging Abrego Garcia with alien smuggling and conspiracy to commit alien smuggling in violation of Title 8 U.S.C. 1324.
Now, again, of course, what led up to all of this, he was caught moving those illegal aliens across the state. The federal charges: conspiracy to unlawfully transport illegal aliens for financial gain and unlawful transportation of illegal aliens for financial gain, were filed in May, unsealed on Friday. He had already, of course, appeared in court. That did happen on Friday.
We want to thank President Bukele for agreeing to return Abrego Garcia to the United States. Our government presented El Salvador with an arrest warrant, and they agreed to return him to our country. We're grateful to President Bukele for agreeing to return him to our country to face these very serious charges. This is what American justice looks like.
So remember, you had the courts, you had the liberal activist judges, and they were all demanding that Donald Trump bring this guy back to, face charges or whatever, get his due process, right? So I think the Trump administration said, fine. You want to bring this illegal alien gang member who is a human trafficker and a wife beater, you want to bring him back for, some sort of, and I'm air quoting here, due process, then let's bring him back. And that is exactly what they did. And in doing so, what they're going to be doing, what the Trump administration is going to do, and I love this, is they're going to shine a light on what Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been doing in this country for the last 10 years. After his first court appearance on Friday, Magistrate Judge Barbara D. Holmes reportedly said Abrego Garcia will be arraigned this week and will be provided a translator in order for him to fully understand the indictment with his public defender, according to Fox 17. Can somebody please tell me if this is a Maryland man? I would ask the media this question. If this is a Maryland man, why does he need a translator? I mean, I'm just asking a question. They further report that Abrego Garcia will remain in custody until that next court date, which is scheduled for this Friday, June 13th at 10 a.m.
Upon completion of his sentence, we anticipate he will be returned to his home country of El Salvador. The grand jury found that over the past 9 years, Abrego Garcia has played a significant role in an alien smuggling ring. They found this was his full-time job, not a contractor. He was a smuggler of humans and children and women.
No. He was a Maryland man. Get it right, Pam Bondi. He was a Maryland man. Abrego's grand jury indictment, which was quietly filed on May 21st, unsealed on Friday, lays out how he allegedly completed over 100 smuggling trips across the United States, primarily transporting illegal aliens, including minors, by the way, and members of the violent gang MS-13. The 10-page indictment claims that smuggling was Abrego Garcia's full-time occupation, accusing him of abusing women and children during transport, soliciting explicit material from a minor, and being linked to the murder of a rival gang member's mother. So there's a lot here. Abrego Garcia, they say, was also suspected of trafficking firearms and narcotics. And so now you've got the spin, of course, the spin, where you've got the Democrats and some in the media saying, oh, Donald Trump caved to the pressure of all of these judges and all of these Democrats in the media, saying that this guy deserves his due process. And so now you have him here back in the state of Tennessee, where he will get that due process. You've got the, of course, Attorney General, and she laid it all out in this indictment. So here we are. One guy, by the way, who is a conservative that agrees with a lot of this is John Yoo. Now, the question is, and I've got some audio to play for him coming up after the traffic, but the question is this, and this has really been the question all along, and we'll dive into this in a little bit coming up, but the question is, all of these guys, all of these gang members that the Trump administration and ICE and local authorities believe are illegal alien gang members, then are we going to have to start, just like we did with Kilmar Abrego Garcia, we're going to have to bring all of them back and give them their due process, because that's going to take forever. John Yoo, who is a conservative, says, yes, that is exactly what we should be doing. By the way, the Daily Dan poll today, do you agree with Kilmar Abrego Garcia being brought back to Tennessee for trial? Because a lot of folks, a lot of conservatives would say, no, man, keep him in that bad prison in El Salvador. The president was right to go ahead and, deport all of these guys and just send them to this prison or these prisons in other countries. Others saying, well, yeah, they should be brought back. They should be given their due process. 51% of you on the YouTube feed, watch us, like, and subscribe, said, yes, you agree that Kilmar Abrego Garcia should be brought back to Tennessee for trial. 49% of you say no. So this is a great poll. It's almost split right down the middle. And I do understand that there is a lot of disagreement amongst conservatives. I'll delve into that quite a bit here coming up on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. It is 6:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Scattered thunderstorms today, a high of 82. Right now, 66 at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. So what do you think? You've got Kilmar Abrego Garcia. We all hope that he'd never be in Tennessee again. Well, here he is back in the state of Tennessee, and President Trump and the Attorney General Pam Bondi decided, you know what? Okay, if you want him to get his due process, let's get him that due process. And he has been, now charged with all of these various crimes. One guy who is a conservative does agree with all of this, bringing these folks back into America where they will face charges. And John Yoo, he was on Fox News, former deputy DA, and he is a law professor at Berkeley. And this is what he says.
First, I think this is actually the best possible outcome. Remember that Garcia had been sent abroad by mistake. He's been brought back, and he is now going to face federal charges. We should not actually be sending people out of the country who are violating our laws. They should be prosecuted and punished first before they're deported. It sounds to me like the federal government has a very strong case. If you get a grand jury indictment with that many charges, with that kind of years involved in prison, Mr. Garcia, if he's got good lawyers, should be begging for a plea bargain right now.
Yeah, and now John Yoo is saying, yeah, this guy is going to spend a lot of time behind bars. And I do get what he is saying about arresting these folks and then these illegal alien gang members and then having them go through the legal process here. But again, I want you to think about how many of these guys there are and how many we have arrested. And so I think it's going to be difficult considering the number of these folks that we have arrested and the cost associated with the legal process, keeping them in jail for long periods of time. Realize we are talking about thousands, if not millions, of violent criminals that are in this country illegally, not just those that broke our immigration laws only. As far as Abrego Garcia, well, you heard John Yoo. This looks like a very strong case. And yes, the more we get to know this guy, the worse it looks for the Democrats, frankly, who have been trying to obviously protect this guy.
The courts clearly wanted Mr. Garcia back. He did have a due process right, which the Trump administration said he did before he was deported. But I actually think that somehow the Trump White House pulled a judo move on them, because what he actually did is said, well, we're going to bring him back and we're going to punish him and we're going to prosecute him. It's going to be much worse for him in the end than it would have been if he had just stayed in El Salvador. But I think that's a good principle. If people come to our country illegally or legally and they violate our criminal laws, I think our system should punish them first before their immigration proceedings go forward.
All right, so I get it. You know, the conservative in me and certainly the fiscal conservative in me is sitting here thinking, do we really want to have to deal with giving these folks, and I'm air quoting here, due process, when I believe that Trump was absolutely right in using his authority to declare a national emergency and deport all of these folks and send them to El Salvador. And it seemed to me anyway like that was, very sound legal footing. But then suddenly there's been an about face, and Donald Trump sending him, ultimately Pam Bondi, sending him back to Tennessee to face trial. Now, Alan Dershowitz, there's a lot of charges John Yoo, I get it. I think that he is right. Trump knows when to hold them. He knows when to fold them. So it's like yesterday when we saw all of this going on in Los Angeles, right? And over the past several days. How many of these people do you arrest? And how many of these people who are criminal illegal aliens who are, doing some of the vandalism and some of the threatening of police officers, some of the spitting on police officers as well, how many of them do you actually arrest? I think that you should arrest all of them, quite frankly, and I think that you should be allowed to immediately deport them. But I understand what this guy is saying. You want charges. We've got charges and a lot of charges. And the more we know, and this is the whole point, the more that we know, the worse the Democrats look. You know who agrees with me? And John Yoo is, Alan Dershowitz.
Big mistake, big blunder by his lawyers. His lawyers never, ever should have tried to bring him back to the United States. They should have filed a motion having him transferred from El Salvador or Nicaragua, where maybe there was some fear, to another place, say Argentina or Brazil. He might be a free man today if they had done that. Remember that he was ordered deported. The only flaw in the order was where he was sent, not whether he was sent. And so I think he may spend a long time in prison. If he's found guilty, he's presumed innocent. But if he's found guilty, he's going to spend a long time in prison complaining about his ideological, radical lawyers who made a hero out of him and try to get him back to the United States when that was not in his own self-interest. So lawyers made the most fundamental mistake a lawyer can make, putting ideology before the best interest of the client.
Well, they can't help themselves, can they? It is 6:22 on Nashville's Morning News. Do you know, Joan, what I'm worried about?
What you worried about?
I'm worried about Tennessee becoming another California.
Yeah.
So we've been covering and we'll continue to cover what is going on in Los Angeles. And by the way, the violence has now spread to San Francisco. And so we have all that is going on in California. We all know that Kilmar Abrego Garcia, his case really has been something that has triggered all of these people on the left. And so will we end up seeing the kind of protests that we're seeing in California here in Tennessee? I don't think so, because we have politicians in our state that frankly are not going to aid and abet this kind of silly, stupid, violent behavior that we are seeing. I think that we appreciate law and order a heck of a lot more in our city than they do in the places like California and San Francisco and so forth. It is 6:23 on Super Talk 99.7. And by the way, coming up at 6:35, Jonathan Fahey will be joining us. Of course, you know that Jonathan, he was part of ICE during the Trump administration first go around, and we've got some comments from him coming up as well. 6:23, Joan, what's coming up?
Yeah, we'll tell you what kind of weapon was used to get inmates to stop rioting at Trousdale County overnight, and what it looks like right now in L.A. after that big day of rioting yesterday. We've got those stories and more coming up here at 6:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.23 on WTN. Hot weather is here, and we've got great savings for new windows from my friends at Window Nation. Now, this is my window company. It is their semi-annual sale going on right now. And what does that mean for you? Well, it means that you can buy 4 windows. You can get 4 windows free. And you buy a whole house full of windows, and you get a free entry door as well. That's right. So you save on the purchase, you save on the install, you get a free door, and you save for years to come because Window Nation windows, they are energy efficient. As a matter of fact, they have some of the best insulated windows on the market, and their prices are a lot better than the expensive guys. Now, Window Nation has a 96% customer satisfaction rating and over 45,000 5-star reviews. These windows, by the way, are made right here in America. And don't forget that great deal. You buy 4 windows, you get 4 free, and you buy a whole home full of windows, and you get a free entry door. 866-90-NATION is the phone number, 866-90-NATION, windownation.com. Dan Mandis here, 626 on WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at Vision for Life. They are celebrating 20 years of 2020. You know, since 2005, Dr. Jeffrey Horn, this is my guy, has provided thousands of patients 20/20 or better vision. Dr. Horn's expertise and dedication have made him a leader in cataract, LASIK, and other vision correction surgeries. Dr. Horn's commitment to providing the best possible patient experience, in addition to the most advanced technologies in vision correction, it's made Vision for Life one of the premier vision correction centers in the world. Now, this is where I went for my vision correction surgery. I shared my journey with you. Dr. Horn and all the pros at Vision for Life, they are amazing. So please help them celebrate 20 years of providing 20/20 vision by scheduling your consultation today. 615-436-2020. 615-436-2020. Visionforlife.com. .629, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. All right, real quickly, we've got Jonathan Fahey coming up. One of the things that I'm going to ask him is about this comment made by President Donald Trump.
They spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away, and then they start spitting in their face. That happens, they get hit very hard.
I love it, and we'll talk about that and a whole lot more straight ahead. It is Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Good morning. It's now 6:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. We've got clouds and 66 degrees right now, and there is a chance of thunderstorms later this afternoon, but Stefano tells us that these are garden variety storms. This will not be anything with tornadoes, but he will have the details about what we can expect right after the news. The scene is quiet around Trousdale Correctional Facility now, after a riot that broke out overnight, during which 2 or 3 guards were locked in a building and taken hostage by inmates. Trousdale County Sheriff Ray Russell says that the inmates took over a control room and then released about 100 other inmates into the prison yard.
I'm not really clear on all that either, on how they did get inside. They took over the control room, and that way they was go out to the prison yard. They never did make it into the outer area where they could breach to get out of the prison.
Yeah, an emergency response team used tear gas to get the prisoners back into their cells. Violence is growing in Los Angeles following protests that broke out on Friday in response to federal immigration raids. Here's ABC's Alex Stone in Los Angeles this morning.
Police here in L.A. say there is a difference between the protesters who are taking part in anti-ICE rallies during the day versus those who are coming out at night to violently battle the police and loot stores. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell.
When I look at the people who are out there doing the violence, that's not the people that we see during the day who are legitimately out there exercising their First Amendment rights.
There's a hope being a weekday that things will calm down tonight. All of downtown L.A. has been declared an unlawful assembly and people are subject to arrest. Alex Stone, ABC News,
And
Los Angeles.
And the search is on for a missing elderly woman who has dementia. 76-year-old Judith Tallett was last seen at her West Nashville home yesterday. She was wearing a white T-shirt, shorts, and sneakers. She is white, 5'1", and about 130 pounds. She may be driving a black 2008 Acura, but the paint is faded to gray in some areas. Call TBI if you have seen Judith. That is the latest news, traffic, and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Take a Jones, 632 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. I want to tell you about my friends at King and Associates Insurance. Now, listen, if your roof was destroyed in a storm, how much of that replacement cost would your insurance company cover? Because you know by now that not all insurance companies, as a matter of fact, very few of them, will actually pay full replacement cost. What they're doing is they're deducting money for an older roof, and this means that the insurance company is going to depreciate how much they pay for your roof claim. If you've got an older roof, they are going to pay you less. That could leave you on the hook for thousands of dollars. Now, my friends at King & Associates Insurance, they will pay full replacement cost. So whether you have to replace a 10-year-old roof or a 2-year-old roof, they will pay for it to be replaced, period. It's what I love about King & Associates Insurance. It is that kind of focus on customer service that does make King & Associates Insurance one of the best insurance companies around. Call them at 615-329-8121, 615-329-8121. Get your Royal Review to kinginsurance.com.
There's a crash in Antioch on 24. This is in the eastbound lanes before Haywood Lane, exit 57. The accident takes out 2 left lanes there. Watch it. Stop and go traffic from Harding Place up to that exit this morning. And there is road work continuing on 40 out at BNA. Careful as you go in that area this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
636 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into Nashville's Morning News, and we've been watching for you everything that is going on in Los Angeles, greater Southern California, and all of these riots have now spread to San Francisco as well. Want to bring in Jonathan Fahey, of course, former acting director of ICE under Trump's administration #1. Jonathan, always great to have you on. I know that just like me, you've been watching all of these, and I'm air quoting here, the peaceful protests that have been going on in Los Angeles, and we've got burning vehicles. We've got, law enforcement officers. They are being targeted by these protesters, by these rioters. You've got rocks being thrown. You've got Molotov cocktails being thrown at them as well. I mean, it just goes on and on. They have shut down major freeways like the 101, word is today. They may be trying to even shut down the airport. So before we get into some of these specifics, just Jonathan Fahey, give me your first blush opinion on what's going on. Yep. Well, the crazy thing, Jonathan, that I don't understand is that you have these people out there like Gavin Newsom and Karen Bass and others who say that it's Donald Trump that is fanning the flames by sending in the National Guard. Also, 500 Marines may be deployed as well. But I do find it interesting because the whole point of the National Guard and the whole point of the Marines, if they ultimately come into play as well, is that they're trying to stop the burning of these cars and the closing of the freeways and all that is going on. And so it doesn't even really make any sense that when they say that Trump is the one that is fanning the flames when he's actually trying to put them out.
Mayor Bass and other people were serious about doing their jobs, this would have never gotten to this point. But Donald Trump's not supposed to sit back and let cities burn, let his agents get harmed so they could, advance their political career. So he's doing exactly the right thing. And unfortunately, they are putting politics ahead of public safety, which they always do. But yeah, it's a standard tactic is create the problem and then act like you're heroic for standing up to the problem that you created. Well, we see it a lot.
Yeah. Speaking of which, this is Gavin Newsom, governor of California, and he is daring Tom Homan to arrest him. Listen.
Max has been here 10 years. The fear, the horror, the hell is this guy? Come after me, arrest me. Let's just get it over with. Tough guy. I don't give a damn. But I care about my community. I care about this community. The hell are they doing? These guys need to grow up. They need to stop. And we need to push back. And I'm sorry to be so clear, but that kind of bloviating is exhausting.
Wow. That kind of bloviating is exhausting. Isn't that what Gavin Newsom was just doing? Bloviating.
Yeah, I mean, he is so inauthentic. I mean, you feel like this is the guy that tries to sell you the undercoating after you bought the car. I mean, he's so bad. It's funny that anyone would be impressed with this guy. But it's funny, the thing that really is interesting is you would think after the last election there were probably two moves the Democrats could have made on immigration. One, kind of come to the center on it, or two, do what they did, which is double down on open borders. And everyone that wants to increase their standing in the Democratic Party has come out in favor of basically full, they won't say the words, but full-on open borders and amnesty. And it just shows the Democratic Party, where it is as a party, is so far radically left. They're basically in line with about maybe 5% of the population on this immigration issue. But clearly the politicians, the people in the know on that party, know that's the lane they need to get in if they want to have support within that party.
So one of the things as we look at everything that is happening, not only in Los Angeles, but also San Francisco, is the fact that you have, I don't know, I mean, would you say there's thousands of people that are taking to the streets? I mean, I think there are groups, but I think a lot of these folks, this is where you put your sort of analyst hat on. But I think a lot of these folks are, number one, paid protesters, and number two, you have these same groups that are making their way through Los Angeles. So they're making it look like it's bigger than it really is.
Yeah, it's always hard to tell when you see these things in the media because it's like, you know, and which makes sense. If you're the person in the media, you focus on where the groups are. So it may give the impression that there are more people than they are. But it did seem like some of the live shots, I was on Fox News last night, and they were showing sort of these broader live shots, sort of aerial shots, and they really did seem to be, I'm not, an expert on estimating crowd sizes, but it did seem to be probably in the thousands, but, you do wonder what the true number is. And I agree with you there that there are a lot of these paid protesters and groups and things like that that just come out to, cause trouble or really advance a political agenda. As we saw during BLM, a lot of those were, in hindsight, were paid protesters and people that were just tearing up cities. And, of course, the Democratic politicians endorse that as well, which is, I think all of us have seen the light for those that didn't see it at the time, that how bad that was.
As a matter of fact, Jonathan, this is the LAPD chief admitting that professional left-wing anarchists are fueling the violence in these riots.
But when I look at the people who are out there doing the violence, that's not the people that we see during the day who are legitimately out there exercising their First Amendment rights and to be able to express their feelings about the immigration enforcement issue. These are people who are all hooded up. They've got a hoodie on. They've got face masks on. They're people who do this all the time, get away with whatever they can, go out there, from one civil unrest situation to another, using the same or similar tactics frequently, and they are connected. Some would call them anarchists or by any other variety of names, but they're people that we run across routinely city to city. And this is what they do. So even more disgusting that many of the people who are doing this come in from other places just to hurt people and to cause havoc.
Yeah, and of course, threaten law enforcement. Got more with Jonathan Fahey coming up next. It is 6:45. Time to check the roads on WTN. Scattered thunderstorms today, a high around 82 degrees at Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Jonathan Fahey is joining us. All right, so Jonathan, I got asked this question. We have all of these folks on the left. You have people that are talking about how these are peaceful protests. You've got the media. You've got the Democrats as well. Is it possible? Now, just go with me here. Is it possible that my definition and your definition of a peaceful protest is different than the definition of these folks on the left? Because when we hear Molotov cocktails, when we hear of burning vehicles, when we hear of rocks being thrown, when we hear of law enforcement officials or officers being spit upon, when we see all of these things that are going on, stores being looted, that all that spells, and seems to me like that's, violent protest. That doesn't seem like mostly peaceful to you or me. So I guess the question is, does the left have a different definition of peaceful?
Well, yeah, it's just a euphemism for a violent protest because, when you look at these, the only time the media describes a protest as peaceful, it's when it's violent. Like if you look at in D.C., there's this March for Life or pro-life protest every year. It's not described as peaceful, and it's 100% peaceful year after year. They only use the words peaceful when it's violent. And if you Google peaceful protest, you'll never come up with an actual peaceful protest when it's used in the news. So, yeah, it's a euphemism. It's to distract. It's dishonest. They know exactly what's going on, but it's because peaceful protest means we as the media agree with these people that are rioting and protest. We agree with their cause, so we're going to do everything we can to obfuscate the bad things they're doing and promote their cause. So, yeah, I don't know that they really think they're peaceful. I think they're trying to mislead the public. And we always see the highlights of that CNN video. I think I think it was CNN with the guy. It's mostly peaceful with like a building burning behind him.
Yep.
But that it just shows everything you need to know about the mainstream media is when the cause that they're covering dictates the language they use. And I think most people have now caught on to that game as well.
Well, if you check out my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, you'll see, because I've been tweeting, posting all of these examples of the, and I'm air quoting, peaceful protests, which do include, of course, burning vehicles and the rest of that. Jonathan, I want to play you this audio bite.
They spit, we hit.
That is your old boss, Donald Trump, of course, President Trump. And he's talking about how if these protesters are going to, and they are, if they're spitting on law enforcement officers, ICE agents and so forth, then Trump is saying, basically, and I'm going to interpret this, Trump is saying, okay, so that is assault, and these guys have the right to defend themselves. What do you think about that as an attorney?
I think that's right. I mean, I think if somebody is spitting on you, one, they're putting you in danger. You don't know what disease or anything else, and that's basically part and parcel of a possibly more aggressive assault that coming your way. So I think you certainly do. And if you're walking down the street, somebody spits on you, I would think most people would think it's inherently reasonable to take that person down if you could. So, yeah, and I think he's standing up both in words and action for law enforcement, which we haven't seen in a long time, or certainly with the Biden administration. They were always, making law enforcement the enemy and the criminals the victims. So, yeah, he's standing up for these guys. He's got their back, and we're not playing this game where the law enforcement are the bad guys here, because they're not. They're the ones keeping people safe, and most people, even people in Los Angeles, recognize that because, recently they voted in a new DA after this sort of far left George Gascon was just so out there that they are even tired of the lawlessness in L.A.
Okay, Kilmar Abrego Garcia has been returned from El Salvador. He is now going to face charges here in Nashville in Tennessee. That all came down on Friday, Pam Bondi making the announcement. There have been a lot of battles over the president and Pam Bondi where they deported Kilmar Abrego Garcia, and I'm going to air quote this, without due process. And so now what the Trump administration has done is they've said, okay, you know what? If you folks want him to have some due process, we're going to bring him back to Tennessee, and we are going to level charges, and they have. So, I mean, personally, I didn't want to see him brought back. I think that President Trump legally had every right to get rid of all of these gangbanging dirtbags. However, this guy has now been brought back. Does this set a precedent for all of these other illegal alien criminal gang members that we're going to have to now bring them all back and give them their, air quoting, due process because he has now been brought back to the state of Tennessee?
I don't think so, because I mean, part of his case was, that immigration judge withheld his removal even after ordering to deport it to El Salvador. So that might have put him in a different category. But I know there's going to be some judges that try to bring some of these people back. But I think generally probably no. And also that the Democrats trying to bring these people back, if they see, okay, now we get to see the reality of what this guy was really about, and he wasn't the Maryland family man. He was a human smuggler, a gang member, allegedly beat his wife, and all these things. And I think it really highlighted, the Democrats, where their priorities are, again, putting illegal immigrants ahead of the citizens, and also just shows just pure on hypocrisy. I mean, now you see Senator Van Hollen has said, it was only about due process, but at the time he was calling him a Maryland family man, and he was defaming ICE agents at the time. So they've changed their tune on this. But one thing that's really important is, the charge was this 2022 stop, or that was a big part of it, in Tennessee, where he was caught red-handed smuggling aliens. This was local law enforcement in Tennessee did a great job. They referred this to DHS, and this was during the Biden administration. They didn't prosecute him then because, again, they were full-on open borders and were virtually prosecuting no immigration cases. So this guy should have been prosecuted in 2022 by the Biden administration, but they didn't. So it also just highlights what they were doing and what they weren't doing. They were focusing on political prosecutions rather than things that kept the community safe. They could have gotten a gang member out of the country or at least locked up, 3 years prior, but they chose not to.
All right, Jonathan, as always, a great analysis. How can people find you on X?
John for Fairfax, JONFORFAIRFAX.
All right. Again, always great analysis. Appreciate you being with us here on Nashville's Morning News. On Super Talk, it is 6:53. Joan Jones is in the WTN newsroom coming up with the latest at 7. Joan.
Hey there. So 6 people hospitalized after a skydiving plane crashes on takeoff in Tullahoma. Also, more on Kilmar Abrego Garcia getting his day in court right here in Nashville this week. Those stories coming up here at 7 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$6.54 on WTN. Mark Spain Real Estate and the Guaranteed Offer. Now, it's the easiest way to sell your home. You can save time and make the most money and eliminate all the hassle this summer. So if you need to get out of your home and you need to get out fast, Mark Spain Real Estate, they can help you. Now, I always recommend Mark Spain Real Estate to my friends here in Nashville because I can trust that they are going to sell your homes hassle-free with a strong all-cash offer. As a matter of fact, the Wall Street Journal and Real Trends, they have both consistently named Mark Spain Real Estate as a top real estate team in America for 8 years in a row, including being ranked number 1 as far as real estate teams go in the nation for closed transactions for 5 consecutive years. You know, Mark Spain Real Estate, they sell 2 homes each and every hour, making them the most experienced real estate team in America. You can trust Mark Spain Real Estate to sell your home hassle-free and for maximum value. It's part of the Guaranteed Offer. They've been helping homeowners for nearly 30 years. They've got 67,000 satisfied clients, including a lot of WTN listeners. 855-299-SOLD is the phone number, 855-299-SOLD. The website, markspain.com, and start packing. Father's Day is coming up, and if the dad in your life has a dad bod that he'd like to get rid of, help him out with a Belly Buster special from my friends at Contours. For just $99, you can get Dad one of those Belly Buster specials, again, from Contours. If you call right now, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960, help Dad out with a Belly Buster special, $99 only, from my friends at Contours. And by the way, if you want to keep that, for yourself, well, then you can do that as well. 615-236-9960. It is time to be able to fit into that bathing suit. Contours can help. Most folks lose at least 2 inches in the middle. I did. Others have as well, taking advantage of Contours red light technology. It is not only unique, incredibly unique, but also effective. Matter of fact, people have been coming in from all across Middle Tennessee to check them out. Contours, you can go to their website and see how their Belly Buster therapy actually works, featuring red light technology. First-hand callers right now, 615-236-9960, 615-236-9960, ContoursLLC.com.
Good morning, 7 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The National Transportation Safety Board on the ground in Tullahoma today after a skydiving plane crashed yesterday shortly after taking off at Tullahoma Regional Airport.
When officials say the twin turboprop crashed just 1,000 feet from the end of the runway. At least 7 passengers were injured. 3 of them were transferred to the hospital via helicopter. Incredibly, nobody was killed in the crash and nobody on the ground was hurt.
That's ABC's Rhiannon Alley. The FAA will also investigate this crash. A Trousdale County prison erupted in a riot overnight. Fox 17 reporting that the prisoners initially refused to go back into their cells around 10 o'clock last night, and then they overtook the prison guards, holding at least 2 hostage. Many state troopers and police officers arrived on the scene to assist. Those guards were eventually freed. Trousdale Sheriff Ray Russell says no one left the prison yard and no one escaped. California Governor Gavin Newsom plans to sue the Trump administration over its deployment of the National Guard in Los Angeles as protests in the city intensified over the weekend.
We're really hearing LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell walking a fine line when asked about whether he wants a National Guard here. He says they were sent in by President Trump, so they have federal orders, which makes it odd because they're not in coordination with local police at this point. They had one conference call. He doesn't really know what their role is going to be or how they're going to work with the LAPD. The two sides know each other well because the National Guard helped out with security during the wildfires. But Chief McDonnell saying the way that they were sent in by the president and not the governor was unusual, and at the moment they don't seem all that helpful because their role isn't clear.
And that's ABC's Alex Stone. Kilmar Abrego Garcia makes an appearance in a Nashville federal court Friday on a 2-count indictment that accuses the 29-year-old of smuggling other illegals and MS-13 gang members into the U.S. Oklahoma Senator James Lankford says Garcia will now get his day in court.
So every person is given due process, but someone who is not a citizen of the United States has very different due process than someone who is a citizen of the United States.
President Trump saying Saturday that this should be a very easy case for federal prosecutors. Market numbers brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com. U.S. trade representatives meet with their Chinese counterparts in London today, and stock futures on the flat side as we approach that. The Dow futures are plus 54 points, NASDAQ futures up 15, the S&P futures are gaining 8. That's the latest news, traffic and weather next. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Got the usual slowdowns on 24 this morning heading into the Nashville area and on 40 after the two roads join together. Same thing on 65. It's just normal delays this morning. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
7:07, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to your friends. Hope you are doing well. And welcome on in to a Monday, June 9th. Joan, can you help me?
Sure.
So, Greta Thunberg. Thunberg, whatever. Thunberg, all right.
She's Swedish, you know.
Sure. So, apparently, she has this flotilla full of, is it Hamas supporters? Like, do I have that right? And
I guess so.
And she decided to take this boat, by the way, powered by a diesel engine, from what I understand, which is very un-eco-friendly of Greta Thunberg. And so she's got all these people on this boat, and they are, I guess, floating or sailing or whatever it is towards this war zone between Israel and Hamas, and then the Israeli Defense Forces stopped her. And I guess I guess she was delivering food to the Palestinians. That's basically what she was trying to do?
She was attempting, yes, to go into Gaza with some food for the Palestinians.
Okay. So, number one, clearly a publicity stunt.
Oh.
Because she knew that she would get stopped, right, by the IDF forces.
The Israeli Navy calls it a selfie yacht.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
A selfie yacht.
Yes.
Well, speaking of the selfie, listen to this.
My name is Greta Thunberg and I am from Sweden. If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces or forces that support Israel. I urge all my friends, family and comrades to put pressure on the Swedish government to release me and the others as soon as possible.
All right, so she's been kidnapped. That's what she said.
Yeah, by the Israeli occupation forces.
Yes.
Yeah.
So now there's video where she and the rest of the people on her little flotilla, they were given food and water and all of that other stuff. So she apparently, apparently the IDF has a lot to learn about kidnapping.
Yeah.
Because
they gave them sandwiches.
They're feeding old Greta and all of these other. And the funny thing is, in the photograph, you have I don't know. You know what? I'm going to repost this real quick. There you go. Follow me on X. You'll see the picture. She's kind of looking sheepish because she knows that she just went on and posted this video claiming that she had been kidnapped, yet here by the IDF, yet she's now being given food and all of these other things. So it is kind of ridiculous. Now, do you know what they're going to make her do? They are going to make her, and probably the others as well, watch a video, a documentary on the Hamas attack on Israel.
Yeah.
Do you know that I've been saying that forever? Where you have all of these people that are siding with Hamas and siding with, siding against Israel and supporting, Palestinians and all that. And I've said since day one, have they even seen or are willing to accept what happened on that horrific day? Because if you see what actually happened, and if you watch the documentaries, if you see what Hamas did, funded, of course, by Iran, which was funded by Joe Biden through his weakened sanctions, then you would have absolutely zero reason to support Hamas or the Palestinians because of what they did, the horrible things that they did. So I do love that now she is going to have to watch a documentary of what Hamas did to all of those Israelis several years ago, a couple of years ago. And so I love that. I do.
Well, it's nice, but those people all believe that Israel is occupying the Gaza Strip and causing the people, the Palestinians, harmful lives. I mean, they don't believe that Israel is good in this at all, so they think they deserve it.
I don't think they care. Do you know, this world, and particularly when it comes to Israel and Hamas, and the Palestinians, you have people who will stand by Hamas and the Palestinians no matter what.
Yeah.
No matter the carnage, no matter the brutality, no matter what it is that Hamas does that is so incredibly horrific to people in Israel, they just don't care because they'll say, oh, well, basically I'm saying they deserve it because they're occupying that land. And so I don't know. So you're saying, Joan, that you don't think that watching that documentary will bring any kind of newfound perspective to Greta Thunberg? What is it?
It's Thunberg.
Thunberg.
Don't get hung up on it. You call her whatever you want.
Oh, I will. And I have.
Yes.
Anyway, so yeah, I don't believe that it'll. Believe that it'll change their perspective at all. I do like that they're calling her out and calling it, what is it? The selfie?
A selfie yacht.
The selfie yacht. Okay, the selfie yacht. Anyway, so
they're calling it a show. It's just a show because there are areas where they are allowed to bring food, and then Israel will make sure that that food gets into Gaza.
Mm-hmm.
And they do that because they want to make sure that nobody's bringing arms, shipments of arms in for the Palestinians to use against Israel's army. Duh. Like, that makes a lot of sense.
So is she done trying to save polar bears and now she's trying to save Hamas?
She'll do whatever brings the spotlight on her.
Is that what it is?
That's what it's all about that.
Yeah. I can just see the super text now. And here you are talking about her, Mandis. At least I don't know how to pronounce her name. And I think that actually looks good for me, don't you, Joan?
No, it looks very good on you, yeah.
Thank you, Joan. It is 7:15. Time to check the roads on WTN. Scattered thunderstorms today and a high of around 82 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN at 7:15. I'm Dan along with Joan. We are watching everything that is going on in California. We had and still continue to have a lot of these protests going on in Los Angeles. They have now spread to San Francisco as well. Not real surprising. And if you've seen the news, if you've seen what is going on, it clearly and truly is horrific. And so I've got a couple of sound bites that you've not yet heard from some of the local lawmakers there in Los Angeles. But first, so you have all of the insanity that is going on. And Fox News had this report over the weekend. It was a really good report. And you had Christina Coleman, and she was right there on the streets of Los Angeles, and she's describing the cars that are burning. She's describing the assaults that are happening on the ICE agents and some of the other folks that were there, the law enforcement that were there. And she made a point, and it's a good one, and stop me when you've heard this before. This applies to Kilmar Abrego Garcia or, frankly, anyone that that ICE has arrested in Los Angeles and in California, because these folks are, as the Trump administration has been saying, these folks are the worst of the worst.
And get this, just moments ago, DHS released some information on some of the people that have been arrested. DHS officials say some of the illegal aliens arrested this week in L.A. have a criminal history, a lengthy one, and some of them, they involve a whole host of crimes ranging from sexual battery, second-degree murder, and willful cruelty to a child. But violent protesters still demanded that ICE release everyone they arrested. Authorities say those violent protesters, they assaulted law enforcement officers, slashed tires, defaced buildings, and taxpayer-funded property.
Yeah, sexual assault, murder, sexual battery, and a whole lot more. Yet
we are asking that everybody that got arrested today be released.
That's right.
We want them in their houses with their families, with their children. That's where this is where we belong. This is our home, and we belong here.
Well, I mean, not to nitpick, but you don't belong here if you are illegal. And you, activist, are sticking up for people that would just as soon see you dead in the street. So there's that as well. A number of different aspects to what is going on, and I've been covering this all morning long, off and on. ICE is arresting bad guys. The nut jobs on the left are standing up for them, as we saw here in Nashville as well, and Middle Tennessee as well. The politicians, like L.A. Mayor Karen Bass, are trying to help them and impede ICE. Same with, of course, Gavin Newsom. And now the National Guard, 2,000 members of the National Guard. They have now had to come in and try to maintain some semblance of order. I don't think that it's working.
Standing here with these protesters who are continuing to shout at them. The disrespect, the level of disrespect has just been insane over these past few days. There's so many people cursing and shouting at law enforcement. You know, these people are out here. They're just trying to protect and serve. They're just trying to keep this community safe. Following instructions, they're here supporting ICE agents as they carry out their operations. And this is what they have to deal with. You see a lot of people, I'm looking at a lot of people with their face, okay, they're spraying some more.
It's kind of funny, too, because I'm watching this in real time, and I'm taping this off of Fox News. And it is kind of funny, and I did mention this earlier, that you see all of these people acting, you know, really bad, right? They're really tough. You know, they've got their keffiyehs on, and they've got their masks on, and, you know, they're standing up to the law enforcement, and then they get pepper sprayed. And they fall to the ground crying, fetal position, and it's like, man, what did you expect? Play stupid games, win stupid prizes. So then, of course, Joan, they're screaming, shame, shame, shame.
Yeah.
You know, the now infamous shame chat. And I love how you have all of these guys in riot gear. They've got batons and they've got, I don't know if those were guns or what they were, but, and they're just dealing with all of these people. And I guess my question to the rioters would be, do you really think that these chants of shame is going to impact them? I mean, honestly, they are itching to club you over the head like the dumb A's that you are, but they don't. Now, Tom Homan was there. I mean, they haven't yet. I could not do what they're doing. The ICE agents and the National Guard. It would be very difficult. And we were talking earlier, Joan, in the 5 o'clock hour, where if you go to my X feed at Dan Mandis Show, you scroll down. In Memphis, I think it was either Thursday or Friday, you had one of these people that was standing in front of one of these ICE vehicles. Big, burly ICE agent.
Yeah.
Just walks up to this dude and literally picks him up and throws him out of the way and on the vehicle. And I do believe, and I said this on the post, I think that this is how you have to handle these kinds of people. You've got to play by their rules. You've got to play this game utilizing their rules. They don't have any rules. They are throwing rocks. They are throwing concrete. They are throwing Molotov cocktails. They are burning vehicles. They are blocking roadways. First, what we're hearing today is they're going to try to shut down LAX. Tom Homan was there, and he was pissed.
They arrested a lot of bad people yesterday and today. They arrested child sex offenders. They arrested people convicted of robbery. They arrested public safety, not only significant public safety threats, but national security threats. They arrested gang members. We're making Los Angeles safer. And Mayor Bass ought to be thanking us for making her city safer.
Yeah, he did mention L.A. Mayor Karen Bass. She is, of course, as you know, like all Democrats, pro-illegal alien gang member criminals.
We are going to fight for all Angelenos, regardless of when they got here, whether they have papers or not. We are a city of immigrants, and this impacts hundreds of thousands of Angelenos.
But what about the criminals? See, that's what I wish somebody would answer that question. What about the criminals? President Donald Trump publicly calling out both Mayor Bass and California Governor Gavin Newsom for being unable to handle the task of quelling these demonstrations, which is, of course, as you know, why the Trump administration now getting the National Guard involved. Newsom called the Trump's choice to deploy thousands of guardsmen purposefully inflammatory. Do you know what I think of, Joan, when I think of inflammatory? People that are literally using flames, like the protesters with their Molotov cocktails.
Yeah. Good point.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, Trump had a message for everybody involved.
They spit, we hit. And I told them, nobody's going to spit on our police officers. Nobody's going to spit on our military, which they do as a common thing. They get up to them this far away, and then they start spitting in their face. that happens, they get hit very hard.
I mean, I was talking to Jonathan Fahey, and I said, I hope that these, law enforcement agents, I hope that they are given the green light where if somebody comes up and spits on them, that they get a baton to the head. I mean, I hope that's what happens. Trump
Little
also,
rough, don't you think?
What's that?
Little rough.
No. If somebody spits on you, that is assault.
Yeah, well, that is true.
That is assault. And these law enforcement agents, they have a right to defend themselves. And so if somebody comes up and they hock a loogie on one of these ICE agents or one of these members of law enforcement, yeah, I do believe, now maybe I'm wrong, but I believe that they should have the right and the ability to defend themselves. Donald Trump also posting on Sunday afternoon into evening, a once great American city, Los Angeles, has been invaded and occupied by illegal aliens and criminals. Now, violent insurrectionist mobs, the president said, are swarming and attacking our federal agents to try and stop our deportation operations. But those lawless riots only strengthen our resolve. He says, I am directing Secretary of Homeland Security Kristi Noem, Pete Hegseth, Pam Bondi, in coordination with all of the other relevant departments and agencies to take all such action necessary to liberate Los Angeles from the migrant invasion and put an end to these migrant riots. Order will be restored. The illegals will be expelled, and Los Angeles will be set free.
You know what's happening today in L.A.?
What's that?
The ACLU is leading what they call a peaceful rally and protest in downtown L.A.
Oh, that'll be fun.
The ACLU.
Yeah.
Why? When did they become an activist, like on-the-ground activist group?
How long have they been around, the ACLU?
Too long.
That's when they started.
Yes.
That's when they started becoming an activist organization for the left. It is 7:24 on Nashville's Morning News on WTN. Joan Jones has the news at 7:30. Joan.
Yeah, the riot erupting at a Tennessee prison overnight. Why police are still on the scene there this morning. We'll also have the latest from L.A., where rioting hit the streets over President Trump's deportation efforts. All of that and more coming up here at 7:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
$7:25 on Nashville's Morning News. By the way, I cannot wait to talk to John Rich. He is, of course, you all know, Big and Rich fame. And he is going to talk about what is going on in Cheatham County with the TVA and this big controversy over what is going on with the TVA. And we'll talk to John about the details. The accusation is that the TVA, the Tennessee Valley Authority, is taking over people's land for a methane plant. And so we'll talk to him coming up at 7:36 on WTN. You know, the weather in Middle Tennessee can really get crazy, which is why you need a backup home standby generator from my friends at the Generator Supercenter, the nation's #1 Generac generator dealer. Get a free quote and get peace of mind when you have one installed. The Generator Supercenter does feature expert installation, 24-hour monitoring as well. They're not going to leave you in the dark. Check out my friends at the Generator Supercenter, 615-879-1952. Financing is available. Find them online, GeneratorSupercenterofNashville.com. 729, Dan Mandis here for the Glock store, one of my favorite places in Middle Tennessee. And there's an incredible new deal going on at the Glock store right now. Now, I'm not a gun expert, but I do know that Glocks are the highest quality handgun available at their price level. Now, you can buy a cheaper handgun, of course, but you cannot buy a better one for the same money. Still, you know, the average Glock is around $600, and $600 is $600. But if you've always wanted a Glock, but the price is just a bit out of reach, with the Glock store, my friends at the Glock store, they've got you covered, because Glock store is now a factory rebuilt Glock dealer. That's right, a rebuilt Glock might have been a retail display gun that got a little scratch. It could have been a brand new Glock with a little blemish in the finish. There's lots of reasons why a Glock might go back to the factory to be rebuilt, but they always come back perfect. Glock factory rebuilds carry the same full factory warranty, but can cost up to $100 less than the original retail price, and $100 is $100. To find out what is currently available, go visit my friends at the Glock store. You can always find them online, glockstore.com, and type in factory rebuilt in the search bar. Now, if you can't tell the difference, why pay the difference? The Glock store, minutes from the airport and worth the drive from anywhere.
Good morning. It's now 7:30. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. There is still a huge police presence at the Trousdale Correctional Facility this morning. That's where a riot broke out last night among the prisoners. Here's how it sounded on Broadcastify as prison officials communicated last night.
Contained, there's probably an estimate of 200 that are out and trying to take over.
Yeah, the 2,700 inmates there. That man said around 200 were involved in the riot. At one point, they took at least 2 prison guards hostage and demanded the gates be opened. But those guards have since been let go. All of the prisoners are said to be back in their cells this morning, but a head count continues to be sure that no one has escaped. Metro Nashville police now know who they're looking for after a hit and run last month. 32-year-old Tony Lopez Infante of Venezuela ran over a man in a crosswalk on May 18th, say police, with a rented car. He is in the country illegally, entering the country during the Biden administration in 2023. Infante has 6 outstanding warrants and a final order of removal. He was last seen in Mount Juliet. Now, the man he allegedly hit, Zach Karach of Florida, had been visiting Nashville with his family to celebrate his 21st birthday. He's been in the hospital with serious injuries ever since. Los Angeles police officers working to clear downtown after declaring it an unlawful assembly area. ABC's Amy Powell was on the scene.
We're standing here on Broadway overlooking the 101 freeway, and in the last few minutes we've heard numerous explosions. There are a lot of people in the street here, and we've seen people setting off explosive devices, fireworks running through the street. You can hear all the sirens. There are several LAPD vehicles down there. We have some coming by right now, and there goes some of those explosives and fireworks we're talking about.
Yeah, those are commercial-grade fireworks being thrown at the police. At least 56 people have been arrested. About 300 National Guard troops are on the ground. That's the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Dan Mandis here, and I got to tell you about my friends at Zentex. I've been telling you about my upstairs bathtub. It literally has holes in it. It is really ugly. It needs a lot of work. My friends at Zentex can fix my bathtub, and they can fix yours as well. They can also convert it, too. Now, Zentex has been in business since 2001. Yes, they are here to help you. They can remodel your shower. They can remodel your bathtub, even convert your bathtub into a walk-in shower. Zentex. Now, these types of home improvements, they can increase the value of your home. Zentex can have it wrapped up in a day. You want to talk about an investment in your home? Zentex can help you out. They are an award-winning company that offers limited lifetime warranties for both their products and their installation. Now, you can make your bathroom safer with a walk-in shower, complete with grab bars and a bench seat, too. This is a great way to help the older folks in your life who need that extra assist and support. So fix, remodel, or convert your tub into a shower today with my friends at Zentex. Now, that phone number, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 629-258-7747. They've got a great deal going on right now when you mention my name at WTN. $1,750 off or no interest for 24 months, whichever works best for you. And also no payments for 2 years. Again, when you mention WTN, 629-258-7747, Zentex.com, Zintex, Zentex.com.
There's a crash in Antioch this morning. It's on Murfreesboro Pike, west of Morris Gentry Boulevard. The crash, however, is not causing many delays. They're saying that this is inside at the Villages at Forest View Apartments. There could be some police action going on there at the moment. We do have some delays, normal stuff happening on 24, the westbound lane, starting in the Laverne area. Same thing as 24 and 65 merge heading into Nashville. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Progress where the sun don't shine. Keep your big mess away from me and mine.
737, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Of course, that is John Rich, and he is one half of Big and Rich. And, of course, he's been on this show many times. John, always great to have you on Nashville's Morning News. And there's so much that I want to talk about regarding the situation with the TVA. Now, the Tennessee Valley Authority, I want to play this audio right off the bat because it was this audio bite, John Rich, that really drew me to this story. This is a woman. She's an older lady. Her name, I believe, is the last name of Nicholson. And she was talking about what the TVA is trying to do on her property.
They're talking about putting those up.
Oh, I know what they are up here.
Yes.
You think you own something, you don't own nothing. I'm the only child, and I forget how many acres I got. I go to Spring Creek.
Do you have somebody who takes care of it for you?
Farms it.
Okay.
Well, that is, again, Miss Nicholson, and I know that, John Rich, you have been involved in this fight in Cheatham County. So I think some people probably know the story, others do not, but the TVA, which is federally owned, wants to put this big methane plant in the middle of the county. And as the accusation is, and as the story goes, they're showing up on people's property and just, I mean, the sense is that they're just kind of taking over. So, John, talk a little bit about what's going on.
Don't you hate when things go wrong?
You know what's so funny though, Joan, is that they were testing this right before we went on the air, and now something is going on. You know what the thing is? Maybe he fell asleep during my unusually long intro. Maybe that's what it was.
Either that or the TVA has cut his line.
Oh, maybe that's what it is. Maybe the TVA cut his line.
Yeah.
That could be
we
what
know
happened.
how this works.
Yeah. You know, the crazy thing about that is as we get John. So, you know what's weird about the TVA is, they do have like this board of directors, and they actually, do you know that they don't even have, a full quorum, if you will? So they've only got, I think, 4 out of 9 positions there on the board of directors filled.
Wow.
So they can't even do anything, even if they wanted to, from what I understand. That's going to be one of the things that I ask John if we are able to get him on, and we've got him on the phone now. I think we're going to have to try to do it on the phone. Are we doing this by phone, KGB? What are we doing? Okay, so I just got a thumbs up. So am I going to put him on the radio? Okay. Hey, John, how are you?
Hey, I'm good. I could hear you, man. You know how tech is these days.
I sure do. Okay, so you heard my intro, and I played the audio from Dear Miss Nicholson. So tell me, first of all, I mean, you consider Cheatham County your home.
Yeah, so I was actually born in West Tennessee, and about 4 years old, we moved to Texas, where my dad is from, in Amarillo, and I grew up out there, and then moved back to Tennessee to Cheatham County in my high school years. So I did most of my high school there in Cheatham County. My brother has a farm in Cheatham County. My dad has lived there since the late 80s. My Granny Rich ran a business in Ashland City, Tennessee, till she passed away in 2020. So, yeah, I consider my roots deep down in Cheatham County. And as you covered in the beginning, the startling nature of what's going on in Cheatham County, I think, is something that TVA would never want to be discussed out in the open. Who knew that TVA could show up on someone's private property? This person's committed no crime. There's no warrant. They just show up, but they show up 10, 12 vehicles deep. They've got men with guns, bulletproof vests standing out in the yard. You talk about intimidating. I mean, almost like what the ATF might look like when they show up. The lady you mentioned, Miss Nicholson, she's almost 90 years old. And when the neighbors asked the TVA, who gave you permission to be here? They said, Mr. Nicholson gave us permission to be here. And they all started laughing and went, really, that's interesting, because Mr. Nicholson has been dead for longer than a decade.
Wow.
And so what you've got is is intimidation tactics like I've never heard of before in the United States of America. Some of the quotes from the TVA is really interesting, how it runs a complete juxtaposition to what they're actually doing in real life. This is a quote: "Our goal is to not make people feel good about the power generation that may be in their community, but to be a good corporate citizen." That's their position.
Okay.
Well, here's another quote. Here's another direct one, Dan. Okay. One important thing about TVA is we are public power. We don't have shareholders. We have stakeholders. The American public owns TVA. Those are our shareholders. So this is their forward-facing comments, but what they're actually doing in the backwoods and the back roads is they're showing up with guns and bulletproof vests, and even fabricating why they have permission to be there. This is a big deal. It needs to be talked about. One thing most people don't understand is that the TVA only answers to the President of the United States. That's it. TVA was set up in 1933 by FDR. And it still kind of remains in that state where President Trump would be the only one to give them a directive, tell them no, tell them yes, fire someone, bring someone on. So they really operate with the ultimate federal authority when they're walking onto your land.
All right, so John Rich joining us. A few questions. So they want to put this big plant in the middle of Cheatham County, It is near or over the water supply. It's near a bunch of schools as well. And if you, because I did, I mean, if you Google these methane plants, if there's a leak or something like that, I mean, it could destroy Cheatham County. I mean, it could get into the water supply, and it would just be very bad. And this property that they're talking about, is this partly their property and partly private property? Because I know that they bought, way back in 2020, they bought a couple hundred acres of property from, I don't exactly know who it was, but I know that back in 2020, there is a record that they did buy a couple of hundred acres of property. So why do they want to take over some of the property? It seems like they want to take over some of the private property of others.
So that's part of the little trick to all this. Yes, TVA does own a couple hundred or so acres in Cheatham County that they picked off under the Biden administration. But what happens is now you've got to go to all the surrounding houses. There's around, based on what we're calculating, around 450 houses in that general area. They got to run pipeline underneath your land. Okay. They got to run transmission lines over the top of your land. It doesn't just stay in that 200 acres. It affects everything around it. And yes, you're correct. There are 5 schools within 5 miles of where this plant would go. There's a big body of water there called Sycamore Creek. That's what supplies Pleasant View with 100% of their water, and supplies Ashland City with a large percentage of their water, to the tune of about 1.5 million gallons per day. So when you start looking at all this, listen, I've learned over time, it's one thing just to yell about something, but it's a lot better if you, yes, raise the awareness about it, but then say, what are the alternatives to this? Is there another way to do this to supply power to Davidson County? Well, I had a state senator reach out to me, State Senator Roberts, who represents Humphreys County. And he said, listen, John, we would welcome the TVA with open arms into Humphreys County, because we have a coal plant that was shuttered just in the last few years during Biden's war on coal. And he says a lot of our people lost their jobs, lots of people. We would like those people rehired. That plant can successfully be retrofitted to be a methane plant. And I said, has that actually happened? Has someone actually taken a coal plant and turned it into a methane plant? He said, yeah, in the agricultural world, it happens all the time. They successfully move them over to methane. It's a retrofitting. So there are options. So then that begs the question, if the open-facing statement of TVA is that the American public owns the TVA and they are the shareholders, why are you pulling up on their land with bulletproof vests and guns and shoving people around? Oh, by the way, here's the kicker. If you resist them and don't allow them to trespass on your land, guess what they do to you then, Dan? They drag you into a courtroom and they sue you. Now, this is the TVA and the subcontractors of the TVA. So the pipeline companies, the other companies that TVA works with will drag you into court and sue your pants off and make you go in there and defend yourself. And I'm not aware of anybody beating them in a courtroom at this point.
They have unlimited resources.
Correct.
All right. So the name Tennessee is, of course, in the name. The word Tennessee is in the name. But this is, as you mentioned, this is a federally owned organization, I guess. And yeah, you're right. It started back in 1933. But one of the things that you've said is that this isn't even power for Cheatham County. This is power for Davidson County and Nashville.
Right. So early on, this has been going on for a few years. Originally, it was no power for Cheatham County. TVA, I guess because the optics were so bad, they said, you know what, we're going to give Cheatham County one substation. So, yeah, you're going to be getting some power. I think that was to take away that part of the argument, that none of the power would go to Cheatham County. So, okay, we'll give you a little bit of power. Are you happy now? I mean, the audacity of it is unreal, and the hypocrisy of it, to see public relations people at TVA trying to convince everybody that, hey, we're here for you. We don't want to go anywhere we're not wanted. That's one of their famous phrases. We don't want to go anywhere that we're not wanted. Well, when people say, get off my land, I don't want you here, and then they look at a guy with a bulletproof vest and a pistol, and that guy responds to them and says, "Hey, you need to talk to your counsel when you're addressing us. Speak to your counsel." So on my X account, which is just at John Rich, if you go look, I've actually been going out there, I guess like investigative journalist style. I never thought that would.
You have. You know what? I'm going to tell you. I spent the morning with you interviewing all of these folks from Cheatham County.
Yeah, I mean, I'll just drive out to their yard. Listen, I don't want to cause a big ruckus if I'm not understanding the problem, or if the problem has been sensationalized and it's not really as bad as you think. So I said, I'm just going to drive out to the country and go talk to these people, find out what's going on. And brother, when you start digging into it and then you see the video, which right now is at the top of my X page, you play the audio, you will see 10, 12, 15 TVA vehicles, and you will see TVA agents with bulletproof vests and guns standing on old people's property and intimidating the hell out of them. And that's just not America. I mean, there's nothing American about that. I have not directly called the President of the United States yet about this, and I hope I don't have to. He's got some pretty big things going on right now he's dealing with. So I'm hoping this can be figured out here in Middle Tennessee. They should reach out to Senator Roberts, who represents Humphreys County.
Yep.
He said, open arms for the TVA in Humphreys County. We already have a pipeline going all the way to where you need it to go. We would love to see you guys turn this thing back on.
A bunch of folks lost their jobs too, John, back when they shuttered those plants.
Well, right. I mean, so basically what you've got now is holdover damage from the Biden administration still being acted upon under a new administration. I can't imagine Donald Trump, if he saw the video that you just played, if he saw those interviews with those people, that he would be okay with that. I mean, I've known him too long. There's just no way. His answer would be, there's got to be another way to do this. And then I would say, yeah, there is another way to do this. A couple of different ways, actually. Well, and I think he would be interested in looking at that.
Especially with his experience as a developer. Let me ask you this. John, the TVA actually has a board of directors. Right now, they only have a total of 4. You need 5 for a quorum. There's a total of 9. So there seems to be literally nowhere to turn to because the board of directors, apparently they can't do anything. I mean, you may have some input on this, but can they not do anything because they don't have a quorum right now?
I don't know if they can't do anything or not. I know that they can still send armed people with bulletproof vests onto your land without your permission. I know they can still do that.
Touche.
I know that they've still got forward-facing press people and public relations people out here doing everything from podcasts to social media posts, trying to tell everybody, hey, we're here for you. I mean, they're still operating like that. But you're right. Trump actually made a couple of big moves on them because of the way they were operating. I mean, they were operating under what the Biden administration's plans were, under their directives. And so now you've got Cheatham County in the crosshairs. Listen, when you talk about it from an ecological standpoint, you mentioned the water supply. You know, that's a huge, huge, huge deal. There's a lot of people moving into Cheatham County, Pleasant View, Aspen City. It looks like Nashville as far as the cranes. There's cranes everywhere. They're building up because everybody's moving to Tennessee from the U.S. So there's a lot of different reasons why this is a really horrible idea. But the strong arm tactics, Dan, does it sound like America to you? If somebody showed up at Dan Mandis's house without permission, with guns, bulletproof vests, and told you that if you don't allow them onto your property, they're going to drag you into court. Does that sound like America?
Nope, sure doesn't. And that's happening to people in Cheatham County. John Rich, I love that you're on this. And I know you're going to be on with, I think, Murphy Show later this week. So can you just keep us all informed, one show or another, on where this goes? Because I am genuinely interested to see how this whole thing plays out. By the way, in other news, I want to congratulate you. You have been named as the 2025 recipient of the Bob Hope Award as part of the 2025 Medal of Honor celebration that is going on. Congratulations. I mean, that's got to be huge for you.
Yeah, unexpected. I mean, humbling doesn't begin to say how I feel about that. So the Medal of Honor recipients, they meet every year in Chattanooga. they said there's generally 50 to 70 sometimes of them that show up. And I guess just because of my love of the military, whether it be veterans or active duty or the families of those men and women, they thought, you know what, let's recognize John this year. And I said, I can't even believe this. So my family's going to go with me.
Yeah, that's awesome.
I told my dad, I said, I don't ask you to travel to come watch me do stuff, but I'd like you to be at this one if you don't mind. And he said, man, what an honor. Absolutely, I'll be there. So thanks for bringing that up, man. I love our military and our veterans. I know we got a lot of them listening right now. Thank you for your sacrifice and your service. We just had the 81st anniversary of D-Day just a few days ago.
Yep.
And it's because of that sacrifice that we even get to have these arguments right now on the radio.
Well, John, thank you for what you're doing for the folks in Cheatham County. Thanks for what you do for the veterans, and we'll look forward to having you on again soon. John Rich, everybody, and truly a great American and a great Tennessean. 7:54 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7. Business owners, if your concrete floors need a little love, my friends at Specialty Coatings can help. Now, they specialize in concrete floor coatings, polished concrete as well, and they've been doing it for 30 years. You've probably walked on some of their incredible concrete floor coatings. They've done work in all the major sports stadiums around town, the arenas, the convention centers as well. You know, just last year, Specialty Coatings in Nashville installed over 1 million square feet of coatings for businesses across Tennessee. Now, those buildings include manufacturing warehouses, airplane hangars, retail, and a lot more. So if you've got a business and your floors leave a lot to be desired, well, my friends at Specialty Coatings, they can help you make a great first impression. Now, they're not just some fly-by-night company, a couple of guys showing up with a bucket and a roller. No. With Specialty Coatings, they've got the equipment and the skilled installers. So your job is going to be done on time and on budget. No matter how bad your floor looks, Specialty Coatings can fix it. 615-591-9491, 615-591-9491 for Specialty Coatings. Email them, sales@specialtycoat.com, sales@specialtycoat.com. That website, see incredible examples of their work, specialtycoat.com. It is 7:55 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Joan Jones has the news coming up at 8. Joan.
Protests are expected to ramp up again today in L.A. for its fourth day in a row now. And we'll check in on Ed the Zebra after he was captured yesterday. That and more coming up here at 8 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mattis here. Listen, if you own a European car, I've got a great place to get it serviced and repaired. Renstall. Now, this is a great company. We're just talking to John Rich about everything that he does for the veterans. Well, guess what? Renstall also is looking out for our veterans, our military heroes, and our first responders. If you are one of those, well, then they proudly offer the Heroes Discount. Veterans, active duty military, first responders, and emergency medical personnel all get a 10% discount on all repairs with Renstall. So if you've got, BMW, Audi, Mercedes-Benz, Porsche, any European car, Renstall, they specialize in these European vehicles, and they can help you today. Now, they're locally owned and operated, exclusively work on all of those European vehicles. They also offer complimentary shuttle service, free Uber rides as well, immediate appointments, and yes, a quick turnaround as well. So check them out online. Their website is great. iTrustMyMechanic.com is the website, iTrustMyMechanic.com. They do have appointments, and you can call them right now. As a matter of fact, tell them Dan told you to reach out, 615-777-7100 for Renstall, 615-777-7100, iTrustMyMechanic.com.
Good morning. It's now 8 o'clock. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. Mostly cloudy right now, 68 degrees. We may get some storms around here later on, and Stefano's got the breakdown of that coming up right after the news. You can expect some more clashes as protests continue today in downtown L.A., with the ACLU leading a protest in solidarity with the Service Employees International Union. That union president was arrested on Friday for blocking a federal vehicle and interfering with federal officers. ABC's Matt Gutman witnessed some of the violence on the streets last night.
And in the ensuing clashes, the LAPD says multiple officers were injured when two people on motorcycles tried to crash through that police line. We were right there as it happened.
Just moments ago, there's some projectiles being thrown. Just moments ago, a motorcycle seemed to try to break through the police skirmish line. And now you can hear all those flashbangs going off. Police are trying to push those protesters back.
Now, California Governor Gavin Newsom calling on the Trump administration to revoke the order to deploy the California National Guard. The Israeli Navy says the show is over. All of the passengers on a so-called selfie yacht, including activist Greta Thunberg, have been detained as they try to deliver what they said was food aid to Gaza. Thunberg, however, claims that she was kidnapped.
If you see this video, we have been intercepted and kidnapped in international waters by the Israeli occupational forces.
Israel's defense minister says that Greta and friends will be forced to watch a video of the Hamas atrocities of October 7th and then returned to their home countries.
Now, but you know, Joan.
Yes.
That after they were kidnapped by the IDF forces, and I'm using the term kidnapped clearly loosely.
Yeah.
They gave them food and water.
Yes, some sandwiches and sodas.
And some sandwiches and sodas.
Maybe little chips on the side.
Boy, you know, the IDF has a lot to learn about kidnapping.
Terrible.
I'm just here to tell you.
Yes,
I proceed. I'm sorry.
Understand. Ed the zebra is back in the care of his handlers after he was finally captured yesterday morning, thanks to, in large part, to Corey Ortiz, who tells Channel 4 that he captured images of that zebra on a trail camera.
I brought the camera back to my house and downloaded all the photos. And when I went back to put the camera, me and the zebra ran into each other, and we actually scared each other, and he ran off into the woods. And that's when I called the sheriff's department immediately.
And the sheriff's department called up Tango 82, a team from Texas, which helped to get Ed captured and airlifted. Market Numbers now brought to you by Beacon Capital Management, online at beaconcm.com.
Stock futures were little changed overnight, with the S&P trading near a record high and a busy week of potential market-moving news ahead. Delegations from the United States and China are meeting in London today, trying to find a way to scale back the trade war between the two countries. A key issue to be discussed in England will be the Chinese refusal to allow rare earth minerals out of their country. Some auto parts makers say factories could be forced to shut down this summer amid a shortage of the minerals crucial to car makers. Jim Ryan, ABC News.
And that is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News. Crash in Brentwood. It's on Old Hickory Boulevard, the westbound lanes at I-65, and it's slow traffic around that spot this morning. Trinity Hills, there's a crash involving injuries on West Trinity Lane at Scruggs Lane. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.808 Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Good morning to you, friends. Hope you are doing well, and welcome on in to a Monday, June 9th. By the way, people responding to and reacting to my interview with John Rich. Really good interview. Despite the interviewer, John Rich had a lot of great things to say about what is going on with the TVA and with TVA in Cheatham County. So if you missed it, go ahead and KGB, make sure that we podcast that, because I think there's a lot of great things to learn in that interview. And by the way, in going back and forth with John off the air via text, he is actually set to meet with the TVA this week. So I'm really looking forward to hearing what the TVA has to say, courtesy of John Rich. So we're joking earlier, Joan, about how in L.A., we've got all of these riots that are going on. And I need some audio, gentlemen, if I could. And so you've got all of these riots, these anti-ICE protests, if that's what you'd like to say. And they are going on in Los Angeles. And, you know, the media, we've been talking about this now for years, about how the media continues to portray these as peaceful protesters.
I just wanted to state for the record that what did happen in 1992 was so different from what we're seeing now. I mean, that was a real riot.
Reality is, we see peaceful protests launching in Los Angeles. But remember, a lot of these peaceful protests are being generated because the President of the United States is sowing chaos and confusion.
There is some unrest generally dealt with by local law enforcement. And
we are having an administration that's targeting peaceful protests, people that are there to protest. The president is sending the National Guard because he doesn't like the scenes. He doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting.
I mean, the president doesn't like the scenes of people peacefully protesting, don't you know?
I mean, who wouldn't like that?
I mean, really? They're peacefully protesting, you know, maybe singing a little bit of Kumbaya.
Right.
You know, that kind of thing. Maybe have prayer circles in a park somewhere.
And all those fires, that's just to warm their hands around it.
That's exactly what it is, Joan.
Mm-hmm.
No, these are not peaceful protests. As a matter of fact, now, Daily Mail and some of these other places have an ongoing cataloging of what is going on in Los Angeles. A few things have happened since we took to the airwaves this morning. Number one, there's now some protesting, rioting going on in San Francisco. which is not surprising. Also, looters. And again, we were joking about this earlier. It's like, you live in Los Angeles and you need a new TV. You don't need to, go down to Best Buy and buy a new TV. You just wait for the next reason to riot, and then you can go get one for free. Just break into Best Buy or Target or Walmart or whatever it is and wait, and then you have a good reason to go steal a TV because that's what's going on. And the local cops and the local politicians, they'll let you get away with it. Looters, ransacked. I remember way back in, was it 92 with the whole, with the Rodney King riots? Was that 92?
Yeah, I believe it was, yeah.
I remember in 1992, I was 25, 26 years old. And I didn't have a pee to piss in, if you know what I mean. A pot to piss. I don't want to say pee, whatever. Anyway, I didn't have any money. And I hear you laughing over there, Joan.
Well, I'm thinking that you didn't say the word pot, but you did say the other word.
I know. That's what I do. Whatever.
Yeah.
Anyway, I should have said I didn't have a pot to pee in.
Yes.
Do you remember the other day? Was it Friday when I said the Q word? I meant to say the Q word. Remember that? But I actually said the word, and I got into trouble for that.
Oh, yeah. Did you get in trouble?
I don't want to talk about it. So looters ransacking an area now, stores across downtown Los Angeles last night, Sunday night, as the protests against Donald Trump's immigration crackdown entered a third day. So you can tell a lot just from that one sentence. Number one, Daily Mail, it is not an immigration crackdown. It is an illegal immigration crackdown, and they are arresting gang members and people that have broken the law. And I've been playing you this audio. I haven't even gotten to all of my audio yet, which is frustrating. But I want to play a couple of things. There is a local politician, and let me find the audio. Her name is Eunice Hernandez. I need some audio, guys. Eunice Hernandez, and she is at a microphone. She's at a podium, and she's screaming about ICE and Donald Trump.
They know how quickly we mobilize. That's why they're changing tactics. Because community defense works, and our resistance has slowed them down before. And if they're escalating their tactics, then so are we. When they show up, we gotta show up even stronger.
Do you know what I think I ought to do is, because we do have in our house, we do have a television that is not doing well. It's, getting close to being done. Well, we got Kilmar Brego Garcia is back, and he's supposed to have some sort of a court hearing on Friday. And there's some people that are worried about, some sort of a riot or peaceful protest or whatever you want to say here in Nashville. So maybe what I do is I wait to see if there's some rioting, and then I could just run out and get myself a new TV. I'll just blend in with all the looters, and I'll grab a TV and I'll walk out, and I'll be able to get away with it. Maybe that's what I should do.
Remember to put a keffiyeh around your shoulders while you do that.
You know what? I'll put a keffiyeh on my shoulders, and I'll have all the, all the usual garb on.
Yeah.
And I'll now, Joan, I'm going to want like a 75-incher, so I need you to come and help me lift it and take it out.
I think you need to talk to Louie. He's a lot stronger than me.
Talk to Louie? Louie, he's a lot stronger? Okay, very good. By the way, that Eunice Hernandez, she is a LA City Councilwoman.
Oh, how nice.
Yeah, so you have these folks that are out there, and what are they doing? They're encouraging this kind of abhorrent behavior. I mean, overnight, there was a story where you had a lot of these law enforcement officers, and they are literally trapped underneath a freeway overpass, and all of these people above are throwing Molotov cocktails and that kind of stuff down below. But remember, these are peaceful protesters. By the way, we also heard from Maxine Waters, the SoCal Brain Trust there of Maxine Waters, and also this Eunice Hernandez, what Maxine Waters had to say. And by the way, this audio is going to make you laugh. It's all coming up. 8:15, time to check the roads on WTN. All right, as far as your weather goes, scattered thunderstorms today, this afternoon, high around 82. So this is Maxine Waters, and she is, of course, when there's any kind of, this kind of unrest, and whenever there's a camera that is somewhere, Maxine Waters is sure to be there, and she had a message for the protesters as well.
I want to support people having a voice. Peaceful protests are okay. They're all right.
Peaceful protests. Can we all come to an agreement that if there are Molotov cocktails involved, that generally speaking, by and large, it's not a peaceful protest? I mean, can we all just come to an agreement on that?
I want them to know what happened in the civil rights movement, where we got on the street, where we marched, where we fought, and we made the government change, and we got voting rights. Peacefully. And so people can...
You know what I think we need? I would like to get the Democrats on record as saying, what is a peaceful protest? Because that's what I'm thinking is what we seem to have here clearly is a lack of an official definition from the left as far as what exactly is a peaceful protest. So if there are, and you can help if you want, Joan, and folks on the super text line, you can help too. So can we define what is not a peaceful protest? I think that we can all agree because there have been Molotov cocktails that have been involved in these peaceful protests in Los Angeles. You have cars lit on fire. That is not something that is a peaceful protest. You have highways, major thoroughfares, like the 101 freeway, have been literally shut down by hundreds, if not thousands of people walking. Now, would you say, and I would love to hear from the super texters, is shutting down a freeway, which is what they call them in Los Angeles, a freeway, it's like 24, but more lanes and a heck of a lot more traffic. But would you say that shutting down a freeway is a peaceful part of a protest? Is shutting down a freeway peaceful? See,
it's so frustrating.
It's frustrating.
Yeah, and it's not peaceful.
No, it's not peaceful because what you're doing is you are taking over a major thoroughfare where people who have nothing to do with anything that you're protesting are trying to get to work and home. So no, that is not peaceful either. Memo to Maxine Waters. That's not part of a peaceful protest. So closing highways, also not peaceful. Looting is not peaceful, right? So these are all things that have happened in Los Angeles in the last several days. Spitting on law enforcement, not peaceful, all right? So I've got Molotov cocktails, cars lit on fire, taking over of highways, looting, which means, of course, breaking into stores, and spitting on law enforcement. All of these are what we have seen in Los Angeles over the last 3 days. So none of that sounds very peaceful to me. Does that sound peaceful to you? None of that sounds peaceful. So what the heck is Maxine Waters talking about? And you know what the amazing thing is? The amazing thing is this is more gaslighting. This is more gaslighting because as they are sitting here and talking about peaceful protests, you do have the images of cars on fire. Oh, and by the way, my favorite visual from all this was an American flag being burned by people carrying a Mexican flag. That's my favorite visual from this whole thing. Not because I think it's a great thing to do, but because that is emblematic of the attitude of these people that are right now trying to destroy Los Angeles. More from Maxine Waters.
Protest peacefully. They should come out and they should have a voice and they should not allow the intimidation to force them to do nothing. Do something.
Do something.
Something.
Okay, whatever. By the way, a few quotes. Peaceful protests, so says Elizabeth Warren. Overwhelmingly peaceful, claims cackling Kamala Harris. Peaceful protests, says Spartacus, Cory Booker. It's under control, says slimy car salesman Gavin Newsom. And the LAPD, at least early on, said without incidents. These protests are happening without incidents. Now, at the time that they said that, of course, we had seen cars burned and the whole thing. But it's the same old story. And by the way, this is the part of the story that I love. Maxine Waters trying to enter an ICE facility.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact our public apparel.
I need to get in.
That door slamming is just the best soundbite ever.
Yeah, the funny part about it was that as she was trying to pull that door open,
Yeah.
and the guy who was a lot bigger than her just yanked the door and it locked automatically behind him.
Mm-hmm.
So I just love that he yanked the door as hard as he could to make sure that she couldn't get her hands on it and get in the building. Yeah.
I love that. Now, I wish that we could, do that with all of these protests. And again, they're talking about shutting down LAX today. I don't know if they're going to be able to do that, but I would just like to know from my Democrat friends, what exactly do you define as a peaceful protest? Because if you're calling these, peaceful protests with Molotov cocktails, cars lit on fire, highways being taken over, looting, spitting on law enforcement, threatening law enforcement, what is a peaceful protest to you people? Because we can all see what's happening. That's a great thing about the internet and YouTube and so forth, is we all look at these things and we say, okay, so if you think that this is a peaceful protest, then what would you call violent? It is 8:23 on Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Chris Hand is coming up with the crisscross handoff. That's going to come up at 8:35. And at 8:30, it is Joan Jones with the news. Joan, what's coming up?
I'll tell you what kind of weapon was used to get inmates to stop rioting in Trousdale County overnight. Also, what it looks like in L.A. right now. We've got that more coming up here at 8:30 on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
A24, listen, change is always happening, and it is part of life. But when it comes to music, of course, change is all around us. Songs are rewritten, classics are remixed, bands and artists, of course, they come and go. Even our taste in music changes. But no matter how things change in 5 years, there's one thing that will stay the same: the price of your internet. When you go through my friends at Xfinity. Now, Xfinity is introducing a 5-year price guarantee. It means that you get 5 years of the most reliable Wi-Fi with their best equipment included for a price that stays exactly the same over 5 years. That's right, with Xfinity. If you're surprised, well, of course, life is full of them. One internet price, 5 years guaranteed. Learn more at Xfinity.com/deals. That is Xfinity.com/deals. Restrictions apply. New residential customers only. Taxes and fees extra and subject to change. Most reliable Wi-Fi based on Open Signal Awards USA. Fixed Broadband Experience Report, August 2024. It is June. Time to get your system service the Busy Bee way. Of course, this is your HVAC. Now, let me ask you this. How does a beach trip sound? Purchase a new HVAC unit from Busy Bee, and you'll be entered to win a free 3-day beach getaway. Now, you buy the unit, and they'll take care of the vacation, including gas, 2 meals per day, and lodging as well. Winner is going to be announced on Facebook Live. And don't forget all of the June specials from Busy Bee. You can get those air ducts clean, and we're giving you a free package upgrade. Now, you buy the middle tier package, we will upgrade you to that deluxe. How about $500 off of select tankless or upright water heaters? Maybe you'd like 15% off of a whole home drain repipe, as a matter of fact. Now, right now, you can also get 2 years for the price of one for the Beehive Club. $99 gets you this year and next. Now, I could go on and on about the specials, but the reality is they are endless. Find more details online at busybeehvac.com. busybeehvac.com. They definitely want to save you money on your next HVAC unit, maintenance, and plumbing as well. For satisfaction guaranteed, call them at 615-775-7833, 615-775-7833, busybeehvac.com.
Good morning. It's 8:30 now. I'm Joan Jones with your top stories. The scene is quiet around Trousdale Correctional Facility this morning after a riot that broke out overnight, during which either 2 or 3 guards were locked in the building and taken hostage by the inmates there. Trousdale County Sheriff Ray Russell says the inmates took over a control room and then they released about 100 other inmates into the prison yard.
I'm not really clear on all that either, on how they did get inside. They took over the control room, and that way they was go out to the prison yard. They never did make it into the outer area where they could get out of the prison.
Yeah, an emergency response team deployed tear gas to get those prisoners back into their cells. Violence growing in Los Angeles after protests that broke out Friday in response to federal immigration raids and continued today. ABC's Alex Stone is in Los Angeles.
Police here in L.A. say there is a difference between the protesters who are taking part in anti-ICE rallies during the day versus those who are coming out at night to violently battle the police and loot stores. LAPD Chief Jim McDonnell.
When I look at the people who are out there doing the violence, that's not the people that we see during the day who are legitimately out there exercising their First Amendment rights.
There's a hope being a weekday that things will calm down tonight. All of downtown L.A. has been declared an unlawful assembly and people are subject to arrest. Alex Stone, ABC News, Los Angeles.
And the search is on for a missing elderly woman who has dementia. 76-year-old Judith Tellett was last seen at her West Nashville home yesterday wearing a white T-shirt, shorts, and sneakers. She is white, 5'1", and about 130 pounds. She may be driving a black 2008 Acura, but the paint, they say, is faded to gray in some areas. If you see Judith, call TBI. That is the latest news. We've got traffic and weather ahead. I'm Joan Jones, WTN News.
Thank you, Joan. At 8:32, Dan Mandis here. Listen, guys, if you're over 40, you're running low on energy, you're just feeling off, lowtcenter.com is where you need to go. Get started with testosterone replacement therapy, or TRT, and join lots of guys who are going through the same thing as you. Now, you know that they've got clinics all over Nashville. They're really easy to get to, the Low T Center. Now, you walk in, you see a real medical provider, you get that energy back. No complicated process, just results. And remember, these treatment plans, they are tailor-made just for you. And you can get treatments at the clinic or you can be treated at home. But either way, you're always going to get the highest quality of care. And right now, you can get a free consultation. And if you qualify, treatment is covered by most major medical insurance. So reclaim that energy and become you again. By the way, they can also help with prescription weight loss options as well. So head on over to the Low T Center, lowtcenter.com. That is lowtcenter.com. Book your appointment today. Simple, quick, and totally worth it. $835, if you're maxed out on credit cards, if you're struggling with high-interest debt, you could pay it all off in days with Loan Pronto's Rapid Equity Loans. Now, you can get cash out right now without touching, by the way, your low-rate first mortgage. No appraisals, no waiting, and no BS. The Rapid Equity Loan Program at Loan Pronto, it is amazing. Listen to this. One Loan Pronto client got $300,000 approved in under 24 hours. They paid off debt, renovated their kitchen, and cut their monthly expenses by $1,800. That, of course, is a huge turnaround. Loan Pronto, instant approvals, low rates, no hard credit pull up front. Now, listen, your home equity, that is yours, and you should use it. Get cash to consolidate your debt down to one easy, low monthly payment. Call them and tell them Dan told you to reach out at 615-499-5780. 615-499-5780. Loan Pronto is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. Find them online at loanpronto.com. That is loanpronto.com. Equal housing lender, NMLS 166-1781 on approved credit, NMLSconsumeraccess.org.
Looks like we've got an accident this morning in Bordeaux, Clarksville Pike at Buena Vista Pike, and also one in East Nashville. This one's on Gallatin Pike at Trinity Lane. The delays are beginning to ease now on 24, the westbound lanes heading into Nashville, but you may still be tapping the brakes from Laverne on in. Traffic every 10 minutes every morning on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
.837, Nashville's Morning News on Super Talk 99.7 WTN. Welcome on into a Monday, June 9th. Hope you're doing well. And Chris Hand is here for the crisscross handoff is what we call it.
I'm here. I'm ready. Summer of Love 2.0. Are you as excited as I am?
Chris, these are peaceful protests.
I'm sorry.
Now, I don't know if you heard, but I'm actually, I would like my Democrat friends to tell me, would they please can we all get on the same page as far as what is a peaceful protest? Because apparently, according to them, a peaceful protest would include Molotov cocktails, burning vehicles, highways blocked, also looting and spitting on law enforcement. And that's 5 things just right off the top of my head.
Yeah.
If the Democrats believe that is all indicative of a peaceful protest, and I think most sane and rational people would say, I don't know, man, that sounds kind of violent.
Yeah, and I like how they say that Donald Trump has incited this peaceful protest.
Isn't that so funny? Because they're burning cars and spitting on law enforcement, taking over roads. And so Trump responds with, the National Guard, activating the National Guard there. And now he's got 500 Marines that are on standby. And they're saying, oh, it's a bunch of whiny crybabies. Oh, he's instigating. No, he's not. He's trying to stop it.
Yeah, I think you learned the lessons from the mistakes of riots past. Like, get in there and stomp it out immediately. And hopefully they do so. But my wife and I were watching this last night. Did you watch any of this live?
Oh, yeah.
It was insane. So when they say that Donald Trump sent in the National Guard and that's inciting these riots, what does that have to do with the highway patrol that are hiding under an overpass while you guys throw rocks and scooters at them? I mean, we were wincing. It was like,
I think they threw Molotov cocktails too.
They threw lighted up brush onto some police vehicles that ended up catching on fire. But I mean, you see this cop coming up. He's not bashing skulls of protesters. He's armed with a fire extinguisher.
I would like to see their skulls bashed.
Yeah, I hear you.
Honestly,
but they're whipping rocks at this poor guy. What is going on?
It is horrific.
Shooting fireworks at horses.
Sally says, "Rocks. You forgot rocks." Yeah. I mean, listen, you think that, Ed the zebra has it bad? Think about being one of the horses in Los Angeles with the cops on him.
Honestly. And then did you see that the Brick Ferry paid a visit to Los Angeles?
No. Tell me about that. It's not surprising, though.
So Senator Mike Lee posted this. There was, I think it was Andy No. There was a street reporter who had found the Brick Ferry was paying a visit to local areas in Los Angeles. And, pallets of bricks. They're also finding out that some
show up.
Yeah.
They just magically show up.
Oh yeah. If you're a good boy or a good girl all year, when the Summer of Love rolls around, the Brick Ferry will pay you a visit.
That is so funny.
Yeah, the Brick Ferry's back.
They used to do that in D.C. They brought in the bricks in Lafayette Square when they had the church that was set on fire.
Yes.
They did the same thing. They brought in pallets of bricks, and then they said, oh, well, they were just crumpled up pieces that were on the ground.
Yeah. No. It was the Brick Ferry.
Oh, yeah.
We all know.
Mm-hmm.
Sure.
But Senator Mike Lee said USAID undoubtedly paid for those, as they have. Nick Sorter was the one who caught the drop-off from the Brick Ferry. But Senator Mike Lee said USAID undoubtedly paid for those through an NGO before Trump defunded them.
Unbelievable.
Oh, absolutely. That wouldn't surprise me at all. Need some audio, guys. So, Chris.
Dan.
I know that when you are standing up for the things that you believe in, when some pansy A-liberals start chanting, when they start chanting shame at you, I'm sure that just, hits you right in the heart.
It cuts me. It cuts me deep, Dan.
It cuts you perhaps like a knife?
One would say that, yeah.
One would say, yes, exactly. I did find it kind of funny where I'm watching all of this take place, and you've got, National Guard, ICE, law enforcement, whoever it might be, and they've got, the face shields, and they've got the batons, and they've got, guns or whatever it is, and yet you have all these people like screaming shame in your face. I'm sure that just, brings shame upon them, as opposed to wanting to crack them over the head with a baton.
There were tears behind the Riot Shield masks,
Oh,
I'm sure.
yes.
I'm sure. I feel terrible.
Well, we were talking earlier. Joan and I were speaking earlier in the 5 o'clock hour about a moment of self-reflection where I'm like you and like, many Middle Tennesseans, I am watching this in real time. And I'm noticing, at times you would see somebody pepper sprayed.
Yep.
Or in the case of, there's one video that I put up to put onto my X feed. This actually happened in Memphis. I had it on Friday, but you had the one guy standing in front of an ice truck, and a big burly ice guy comes up and just throws the guy. Did you see that?
Yes.
And I
love it.
I love it, and I get excited when I watch it, and I just start laughing because you know what? These jackholes deserve it. They really do. Play stupid games, win stupid prizes.
Yep. You took the line right out of my mouth. That's the old adage that we really enjoy during these kind of
watching a movie. Like, you want the good guys to win. So
Yes.
it's like watching a movie.
I think that we need to start calling this like liberal beatdown porn.
You down with the LBP?
The LBP, that's exactly right. Put a hashtag on it. Oh, man. Actually, on my X feed, if you look at what I was posting this morning, I've got all the quotes from like Elizabeth Warren and Spartacus and all these people calling these peaceful protests. And I've got with that video from what's been going on in Los Angeles. And, peaceful protests, here you go.
Who do you think this helps in the midterms?
Oh, clearly Republicans.
Yeah.
Clearly. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you are, and I was talking about the visuals earlier, if you are burning an American flag while you're waving a Mexican flag, I mean,
while demanding being allowed to stay.
Yes.
Demanding being allowed to stay. I mean, thank you.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like, thank you.
Do you how long do you think this lasts? Do you think we're going all summer with this?
Probably.
I think we're going all summer.
As a matter of fact, real quick, let me see if I can find it.
I mean, does it come here to Nashville? Does it
We
spread
got
to other
Kilmar
cities?
Abrego. I mean, great point,
True.
Joan. Kilmar Abrego Garcia is back. He's got some sort of a legal thing on Friday.
That's going to be a prime protest location.
Oh, yeah.
I was going back and forth with a friend, and it said, I don't know if the Summer of Love, Aaron, I said, I don't know if the Summer of Love 2.0 happens here because the Summer of Love didn't really happen here. And she made the point, well, we didn't have Mayor Freddie back then.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, he has become a cause celeb.
Yep.
Right? So, I mean, yeah, he has become, I was talking to somebody over the weekend. I'm not going to say who it was, but he or she was actually talking about how Mayor Freddie is actually terrified.
Really?
Yeah.
He's spooked?
He is spooked about getting arrested.
Good.
He should be.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, then, you know what, Mayor Freddie? Then do what Cameron Sexton has asked you to do and rescind that executive order.
Amen.
That if you're afraid of getting arrested, Mayor Freddie, then that's what you need to do.
I like Democrats being afraid of being arrested.
It's a nice change of pace, isn't it?
It really is.
Yeah.
It's a palate cleanser, if you will.
So on Friday, Kilmar Abrego Garcia is being formally charged, so he'll be arraigned on Friday.
Okay.
And that's going to be a good one, too, because once they get him dead to rights on all of the human trafficking that he was a part of, they'll be able to run campaign ads with every Democrat defending him.
Yeah.
All midterm season long.
Yep.
Yes.
What are they going after him for, like 100 counts?
Yeah, so I don't
Two,
know.
actually. There's only two.
Only two?
Yeah.
What are they? Oh, I'm sorry.
I'm not sure the exact statute, but it's because he was human trafficking, and also because he brought in. They say he brought in some MS-13 gang members.
Yeah,
So,
he
trafficking children as well.
I think where you got the 200 is he's known over the last 10 years.
Make like 100 trips, right?
100
Yeah.
trips, which means that he's brought in hundreds of these folks. By the way, according to the internet,
Tell me, it must be true.
It must be. They say Matt Van Swal, never heard of him. A permit has been issued and approved for an anti-ICE protest in Asheville, North Carolina.
Yep, I saw that.
Starting at 6 p.m. tonight in response to the Los Angeles riots.
There's also one happening in Tampa, which I don't know if DeSantis is going to be handling the protesters with kid gloves the same way Newsom does.
Yeah, Newsom. What a car salesman.
He really is.
He's not that good.
No.
Do you know what
car
I'd like?
salesman's too nice.
Do you know what I'd like to do to Gavin Newsom? That's what I'd like to do to Gavin.
Slam the
Do you
door
know
on
what
him.
that is, Chris?
No, what is that?
All right, so let me play the whole thing in context real quick because the folks have
It
already
sounded
heard
like a rock hitting the hood of a car after being thrown over an overpass by a protester.
Not quite, but it's a rock head.
Excuse me, I need to get in.
Contact Republic Apparel.
I need to get in.
That is Maxine Waters, of
Yes.
course, a rockhead, trying to get into an ICE facility, and of course,
It reminds me of the old Mr. Rogers line. You know, when you see chaos going on, look for the helpers. And the guy that slammed the door in Maxine Waters' face,
yeah,
he's one of those helpers.
I loved it. I've been having fun with that.
I like it.
Hey, real quick, let's do you guys want to do Terry Moran or Moran?
Let's do it.
Yeah.
So do you think, real quick, so he is the belligerent reporter from ABC. He interviewed Trump right around the first 100 days, and they got into a bunch of arguments.
Do you trust him? Do you trust him? I don't trust you. I don't trust a lot of people. I don't trust you. Look at you. You come in all shooting for bear. You're so happy to do the interview. I am happy. Then you start hitting me with fake questions. But you guys didn't want to write it because you're fake news. All right. Thank you. And by the way, ABC is one of the worst. I have to be honest with you.
So good.
Hey, they're giving you the big break of a lifetime. You know, you're doing the interview. I picked you because, frankly, I never heard of you, but that's okay. But I picked you, Terry, but you're not being very nice.
So, I mean, it was just, it was, to me, we had fun with it. It was a fun interview.
Yeah.
And so, and Joan, get the second part of this quote ready if you could,
Yep.
like you did at 5:30.
Yep.
So early Sunday, Terry Moran from ABC News posted this. The thing about Stephen Miller is not that he is the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpiest movement and translates them into policy, but that's not what is interesting about Miller. It's not brains, it's bile.
Oh.
Miller is a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He is a world-class hater. You can see this just by looking at him because you can see that his hatreds are his spiritual nourishment. He eats the hate. And then he goes on about Donald Trump.
Yeah, when he goes on with Donald Trump, he says Trump is a world-class hater, but his hatred only means it is only a means to an end, and that end is his own glorification. That is his spiritual nourishment.
So I think he was drunk. Do you think that he woke up? Like I've never had this experience myself, where you wake up and you think, "What have I done?" Like that's never. I'm serious. That's never happened to me because I don't drink that much except for a couple of times. But do you think he was drunk?
Maybe. I didn't see any spelling errors, did you?
Yes.
Did you see spelling errors?
In that last part about President Trump, he said, but his hatred only a means to an end, and that end his own glorification. So yes, he did spell some things wrong. The grammar was wrong. So I think that there may be something to that.
Were you surprised they suspended him for this? Out of all the things that you could suspend a reporter for going on an anti-Trump tirade, I didn't think that this one was up there with some of the worst that we had seen.
It was unprovoked, and I don't know, was I surprised that they suspended him?
Well, how about after?
I don't know. This
comes after the George Stephanopoulos thing. So they've already put out enough money.
was like a $15 million settlement, right?
Right. So ABC's probably going, oh, don't do this again.
Yeah, but here's what's different, though, is that there was, and you're right, Joan, but the difference is that George Stephanopoulos leveled an accusation against Donald Trump, and it was an incorrect accusation, as opposed to this, where this is just some dude's vile opinion of the president, but bizarre at that.
I didn't even think it was that bad, though. Like, out of all the things the Democrats could say about Donald Trump, this one wasn't that bad.
No, I mean, listen, when you've been called Hitler.
He didn't call him Hitler. He didn't break out the rapist. There was nothing about Epstein. Like, okay.
Grabber in chief.
Yeah, no, I thought it was actually pretty tame. Just, in the grand scheme of things.
I owe an apology.
What?
I owe an apology.
You owe me an apology?
No, I owe all used car salesmen an apology.
Yes, you do.
You see this on the super text, Joan?
Oh, no. What is it?
7807 says, take back the car salesperson reference. I'm sorry. When I said that Gavin Newsom is used car salesman smarmy-like, I offended 7807.
You can't just besmirch car salesmen and think that it's going to be okay.
Well, it wasn't cars. It was used car salesmen specifically. Which, can I be honest? Actually, I'm going to be honest. I've actually never met a used car salesman I did not like.
It is. It's a pretty meme. It's a bad meme that they have to deal with.
Yeah, I mean, how did used car salespeople get such a bad rap?
I don't know.
I mean, Nolensville Auto Sales, they're great. I mean, they provide a service. Used car salespeople, they are providing a service. I mean, Gavin Newsom doesn't, but they do.
He actually limits the services in the city.
He does.
It's a fun fact.
True.
So there you go.
All right. Apologies to all used car salesmen in the listening
audience.
All
used car salesmen, I love each and every one of you. Except the one that sold me that Toyota in 1993.
Oh,
that one I don't like.
You still holding the grudge?
Still holding a grudge. And it wasn't the Toyota. It was that they sold me I guess there was one used car salesman that I don't like. They sold me a Toyota that actually had engine issues, and so we bought it. We're like driving around like a couple of days afterwards. Damn thing broke down.
Really?
Mm-hmm. Yep, broke down, and oh boy, because I'm not known to get mad. Really.
What year was that?
It was like 93, 94.
Okay,
something like that. Yeah, I do. I hold grudges.
I can tell. It's only been a couple decades. I'm sure he'll get over it.
Wow. Yeah. I guess that is true.
So you were in L.A. during the original L.A. riots in the early 90s.
Oh yeah, we're talking about this. Yeah.
So how does what you saw on the screen, over the weekend compare to what we saw in L.A. in the early 90s?
So there's a lot of similarities. Of course, there's one thing that has not yet happened, and that is a truck driver like Reginald Denny being pulled out of his truck and getting hit over the head with a brick. That was awful.
Yeah.
That has not happened yet. And I think that is why Donald Trump is trying to prevent that from happening by bringing in the National Guard and perhaps 500 Marines as well. But everything else, the attacking of the police officers, the looting, the fires, and all that stuff, I mean, very similar, obviously, to what happened in 92. So I think Trump is trying to prevent that from happening again, to that escalation, that further escalation.
Okay.
So there you go. And they're talking about trying to close the airport today.
LAX?
LAX. Mm-hmm. The protesters are talking about word on the street is that they're trying to shut down the airport. We'll have to see. Isn't this like a form of terrorism at some point?
You would think.
All the people who have to fly into LA today are like, oh no, please don't.
That's exactly. Well, the ones flying out of LA too.
Yeah, the ones.
I want to get the hell out of here.
The ones flying out really are hoping it doesn't happen. The ones that have to go to LA today are like, all right, that's fine. Just get it in early.
All right, real quick. So we're running late, of course. What is coming up at 9?
Well, we're going to be talking a lot about the LA riots. Plus, we'll talk about Riley Gaines versus Simone Biles, and I actually have a wild story about. What's happening in a middle school in Washington? They're having a big Pride Week celebration, and so they're encouraging on one day this week for the kids to show up in drag.
Oh my goodness!
It's drag day, Joan. It's drag day.
You're homeschooling your kids, right?
You're darn right I am.
8:55. And Joan, what's coming up?
Threatening words from California's governor, and CNN gets spun off by its parent company. Yeah, got those stories and more coming up at 9 o'clock on Super Talk 99.7 WTN.
Dan Mendes here, and I've been telling you for years about USS United Structural Systems. They're experts in waterproofing, concrete leveling, and foundation repair. This is a great company, and they've helped me several times with my home, and that is why I proudly endorse USS, United Structural Systems. Now, I'm one of 30,000 satisfied customers, and one recent review on Google, guy says at USS, they were highly professional. The crew was phenomenal from start to finish. They treated his home as if they were working on their own home, and he does give USS 5 stars all the way, as do I. Now, they're not going to charge you for any unnecessary repairs, and you won't pay a dime until the work is done and you are a satisfied customer. We guarantee our best. Call USS. They can help you with basement and crawl space waterproofing, basement wall stabilization, foundation repair. 615-488-7855, USSTN.com.